Chapter 4360. One day, half a year later, Xiaoran suddenly appeared with a slip of paper in her hand. It was a coordinate. Lu Yin looked at Xiaoran in confusion. Xiaoran said, "From the river of time." "I don't know what it means." Lu Yin looked at the coordinates on the note. "From the river of time." "Okay, thank you." He got up and teleported away. No matter who gave the coordinates, he had to go and take a look. The coordinates were very far away. But he had teleportation. He would arrive soon. 20 years away from the coordinates, Lu Yin stopped and looked into the distance. He saw a universe and a civilization. That civilization gave him a very ordinary feeling. Perhaps it was because it was too far away. Lu Yin got closer and looked at the civilization in the distance. It was still very ordinary. But when he got closer, he felt the aura of the eternal realm. It filled the universe at all times. This feeling was similar to the Green Lotus Emperor using karma to protect the three universes. But the power was much weaker. It was just an ordinary eternal realm. Could it be? This was Miao Zun's test place. Back then, he was tested by the unknown to eradicate the Bramble civilization. And the Bramble civilization only had one eternal realm. Miao Zun's test should be similar. After all, it was not the test itself. It was its ability to use the civilization. If he wanted to pass the test, he could not do it himself. He had to use other civilizations to destroy the target civilization. If that was the case, then who gave the coordinates? It could not be Red Hero. There was no need for him to hide it. He could just tell him directly. Only the unknown would know these coordinates. Other than Red Hero, who else would tell him about this? The first thing he thought of was the old man. This old man could guide the river of time. It was not impossible for the river of time to pass down a note. Moreover, although this old man disgusted him many times, he did save his life on the battlefield. Could it be him? Lu Yin suppressed his guess. No matter who it was, since this civilization might be Miao Zun's target and Red Hero told him in advance, it would be beneficial to him. He first went to Boss to capture Jade. Then, he brought Boss, Blood Tower Emperor, Jade, and the 7 treasures Sky Toad clan to the target civilization. It was a distance away from the target civilization, but it was enough for Boss to arrive quickly. He would not be noticed by the eternal realm of that civilization. Then, he went to the Red Coat civilization under the stars. If Red Hero wanted him to walk on the edge of breaking the unknown rules, or even directly break the rules, then he would let him be the witness that he did not break the rules. At a distance of a square inch, under a dark starry sky, a dark red gas covered the earth, covering the sky and the sun. On the ground, all kinds of strange and malevolent insects were crawling here and there. Some of them were curled up into a ball and rolled around. It was extremely horrifying. The void distorted, and a shadow walked out. He took out a suspended coffin and drew a door. Underground, a pair of hideous eyes opened. Its eyeballs were raised as it stared at the ground. The shadow drew the door and lowered its head, as if it was looking into the pair of ferocious eyes. "Miao Zun, are you willing to enter my unknown realm?" That pair of eyes flashed with a ferocious chill, and a sound like glass being cut came out. "I'm willing." "All right, if you complete the test, you'll be able to enter the unknown. The goal of the test is to condense the universe. You're not allowed to act on your own. You can only use your civilization. If you pass the test, you'll be able to join. I wish you good luck." With that, the shadow stepped into the door and disappeared. After the shadow disappeared, the ground cracked open, and a huge 3-horned strange insect crawled out. It was huge and oppressed the void. More than 10 hammer-like feet stepped on the ground, and every step it took was enough to split the starry sky from bottom to top. It stretched its body and roared at the sky, shattering the starry sky. Then, it jumped up and ran in a direction. The unknown realm was really troublesome. If it wanted to destroy a civilization, it had to use other civilizations. Fortunately, it knew the hiding location of that civilization. It had once joined forces with the civilization it was in to fight against the unknown realm. In the end, its civilization was destroyed, and that civilization was also crippled. However, even if it was crippled, destroying a civilization with only one eternal realm was not a problem. However, that civilization knew about the unknown realm and would not easily pass through the door. Then, it would force them. Thinking of this, Miao soon ran faster and faster, far exceeding that of an ordinary eternal realm. Every step left a deep dent in the space of a square inch, shattering the starry sky. On the other side, Lu Yin arrived at the Red Coat civilization under the stars. He did not look for Red Hero. Instead, he went directly to the front of the Blood Tower, facing Jiu Wen, and sat cross-legged in the void. Jiu Wen was puzzled. "What are you doing?" Lu Yin and Jiu Wen looked at each other. The ruthless path is one of the inheritances of human civilization. I once misunderstood the ruthless path. Now, I want to understand it more. Jiu Wen was surprised. You want to cultivate the ruthless path? Lu Yin nodded. Jiu Wen said, a person's energy is limited. Mr. Lu, you have reached your current height, which is unprecedented. Even during the Nine Bases era, you were considered one of the top powers. Why do you need to cultivate other powers? Not only is it not beneficial, but it will also be harmful. Moreover, you don't understand the ruthless path. It cannot coexist with other powers. If you really want to improve your state of mind through the Tao of heartlessness, 20 years are not enough. 200 years, or even 2,000 years are not enough. At the end of the 9th base, Red Hero betrayed me. At that time, I was just a young cultivator with some talent, but I was able to maintain my state of mind under Red Hero's influence for countless years. Do you know why? Lu Yin shook his head. Senior, please enlighten me. Because of shock. Shock. There are some things that you can't forget once you see them. You can't forget them no matter what. Mr. Lu, do you want to take a look? Lu Yin's eyes lit up. Senior, please grant me my wish. All right, take a look. Jiu Wen's gaze was complicated. Perhaps this scene will allow you to see the true Tao of heartlessness. In Lu Yin's hand, the karma spiral shuttled towards the Blood Tower. Finally, it passed through the Blood Tower and Jiu Wen's body, creating scenes of the past. At this moment, karma could create whatever Jiu Wen recalled. Jiu Wen raised his head and looked at his karma past. This is the tomb of the Red Lotus. On the dilapidated ground, broken swords were stabbed into the ground. The world was dyed red, and broken umbrellas danced in the wind. Smoke rose everywhere. A figure walked alone on the ground. He stepped barefoot on the fragments of swords, leaving behind traces of blood along the way. He was climbing towards the mountain peak. Along the way, there were broken sword fragments. Some broken swords were connected to broken limbs, and blood dyed the mountain peak red. On the mountain peak, there were two figures. One was a woman, and the other was a spear. The spear pierced into the woman's body and pierced through her. The spear hilt was deeply embedded in the mountain peak. The woman's blood flowed along the spear hilt and flowed from the mountain peak to the ground. In the dark red sky, 3 immortal feathers danced and let out cheerful cries. They seemed to be mocking and playing around. From time to time, a sharp light flashed past, sweeping the person climbing towards the mountain peak down and tearing apart a large piece of flesh. However, that person did not give up. His gaze was always fixed on the woman on the mountain peak. He walked towards her step by step. No matter how the broken swords tore at his feet, the world stopped him. Step by step, he climbed resolutely towards the mountain peak. He fell and climbed again and again. His flesh and blood withered, but his gaze did not change at all. Flames burned the starry sky and burned the ground. The figure continued to climb resolutely. Finally, he arrived in front of the woman. He raised his hand and grabbed the woman's palm. Without hesitation, he pierced through the spear with his body and hugged it. He revealed a blissful smile. Their blood dripped down the spear. And at this moment, the wind and clouds surged in the world, and the flames were instantly extinguished. From the earth, red color penetrated through and covered the void, freezing the entire earth and the 3 fluttering immortal feathers in the starry sky. In the end, it turned into a dark red crystal, shining brightly in the depths of the darkness. Lu Yin looked at this scene in shock. He forgot about his surroundings. In his eyes, there was only the figure climbing the mountain peak resolutely. There was only the figure who was still standing after being pierced through by the spear. This is the Red Lotus Tomb. Jiu Wen exhaled heavily. A tomb where 3 immortal feathers are buried. It carries the liberation of the ancestors and completes the ultimate profound meaning of the way of emotionlessness. The name of that place is the Red Lotus. That's why it's called the Red Lotus Tomb. Chapter 43-61. Lu Yin and Jiu Wen looked at each other. Even after so many years, the shock in Jiu Wen's eyes did not fade when he recalled this scene. Mr. Lu, what is heartless? What is love? If heartless is defeated, love can bury everything. How lucky I am to see this scene. This is the true path of heartless. Jiu Wen picked up the wine gourd and drank the last mouthful. He let go, and the wine gourd fell and shattered. Red clothes under the stars is heartless, but red frost is the most heartless. I didn't see red frost's love. But to be able to see this scene, death is enough. Lu Yin looked at the starry sky. The path of heartless, perhaps the path of heartless was the most heartless. The shock brought by the Red Lotus Tomb made Lu Yin silent. He did not know what to say. He only knew that he would never forget that scene. After that, Lu Yin did not say anything. Jiu Wen could no longer help him. What Lu Yin could comprehend from the Red Lotus Tomb was his own business. Many cultivators of the path of heartless could never see their own path. One look at the Red Lotus Tomb. Thousands of heartless paths. Another 3 years passed. On this day, Red Hero walked out of the void and came behind Lu Yin. You were waiting for me. Lu Yin turned back. Waiting for you. Red Hero looked at Lu Yin coldly. Stop pretending. You and I know very well that you want to know. I can tell you. I'm just here to cultivate the path of heartless. I don't want to know anything, especially from your mouth because your path of heartless is wrong, Lu Yin said. Red Hero frowned. I said, stop pretending. As he spoke, he raised his hand and a piece of jade flew to Lu Yin. These are the coordinates of Miao Zun's test. Go if you have the ability. When the jade landed, Lu Yin glanced at it. It was indeed the coordinates. He crushed the jade in front of Red Hero. Red Hero, I don't know what you want to do. What does Miao Zun's test have to do with me? Red Hero's gaze turned cold. You're not stopping it. Why should I stop it? If it joins the unknown, it will increase our strength. Do you want to stop it? Without waiting for Red Hero to refute, Lu Yin scolded, I knew you were disloyal. Mud Blade got rid of you. I thought you were stupid, but it seems like you have ulterior motives. Red Hero, you want to betray us. Nonsense, are you sure you don't want to go? Red Hero didn't believe him. Lu Yin sneered, what, you want to force me? I know you want to use my teleportation to quickly find Miaozun and stop him from joining the unknown ones. Let me tell you, stop dreaming. I won't help you. Heaven and earth can be my witness to my feelings towards the unknown ones. These words made drunkard man confused. What did this brat mean? Shi Shangfeng looked at Lu Yin strangely. Was he really that loyal? Red Hero was also dumbfounded. What was going on? That shouldn't be the case. Could it be that this kid would allow Miaozun to join the unknown ones? Putting aside Miaozun's attitude towards the human civilization, once he joined, he would have to worship the divine tree. With his personality, would he be willing to do that? What exactly happened? He had a feeling that everything was out of his control. Wait, based on my understanding of this kid, it's impossible for him to allow Miaozun to join. Now that he's not stopping him, there's only one possibility. He already knows the coordinates. Yes, I already know the coordinates, but I waited until now to tell him. It's not impossible for him to know the coordinates in advance. He's using me to create an alibi. There must be other masters who went to deal with Miaozun. Red Hero's gaze changed. Who told him the coordinates? The mastermind behind the scenes who wanted to deal with him. Lu Yin stared at Red Hero. He was also curious about who told him the coordinates. Help him. He didn't believe that no one in the unknown would sincerely help him. Another possibility was to deal with Red Hero. If he really broke the rules of the unknown, he wouldn't be able to deal with Red Hero. They weren't the only ones who wanted to deal with Red Hero. There was also a hidden mastermind behind the scenes. They once guessed that the mastermind belonged to the unknown. Now, they were even more certain. It must be one of the unknown. Lu Yin and Red Hero had the same thought, but this matter was beneficial to them. Red Hero didn't expect the mastermind behind the scenes to help Lu Yin, causing his plan to fail. His gaze was cold as he stared at Lu Yin. He sneered, I betrayed Jiolei, but now you're betraying the current human civilization. Then, he disappeared. Lu Yin watched Red Hero leave and slowly clenched his fists. There was always a shadow behind their war with Red Hero. If that shadow wasn't found, it would be disadvantageous for them. They didn't know what kind of grudge the mastermind had with Red Hero, but no matter what, dealing with Red Hero would consume the power of human civilization. Just as Red Hero said, if every step was calculated by the mastermind, they would be unlucky sooner or later. What was the difference between this and betraying human civilization? To deal with Red Hero, they had to first find the mastermind behind the scenes and let that existence fight with Red Hero. Only then could they escape. Otherwise, they would be too passive. Far away, the civilization that Lu Yin had seen before was now in a war. The fight between the Eternal Realm experts had turned the universe upside down. In the universe, different species were fighting. Green blood rain fell, turning the entire sky green. Even further away, Miaozun's gaze was ferocious with a smile. Kill, kill. Only by killing that Eternal Realm expert could he join the unknown. He had to pay the price for this. Compared to the karmic restraint of killing an Eternal Realm expert and the survival of a civilization, as long as the civilization had more than one Eternal Realm expert, the latter was more important. They had been too naive to think that they could defeat the unknown. Now that they thought about it, it was laughable. Since they couldn't win, they would join. From then on, they would join the unknown as well. Unfortunately, the creatures of this civilization weren't tasty. After living for so long, the most delicious thing was still the human civilization. The taste was too delicious. He hoped that the unknown could help him find the human civilization. As he thought about it, an indescribable pressure suddenly descended. His eyes widened. Not good, he quickly dodged. He was a step too late. The Seven Treasures Heavenly Toad's boss leaped up and slammed his claws down. With the support of terrifying gravity, the claws penetrated Miaozun's body, causing him to wail, "Who are you? Why are you attacking me?" Boss's lips curled up. "Blame yourself for coming out at the wrong time." He then swept his claws and tore a third of Miaozun's body apart. Miaozun wasn't weak and was comparable to Lan Meng, but Boss was an absolute powerhouse who was compatible with two laws of the universe. Even if he couldn't compare to a peak existence like Red Hero, Miaozun couldn't compare to him. Miaozun's 10 strong legs stomped toward Boss. Boss casually slapped Miaozun, and the gravity swept him away like a piece of paper. Miaozun's strong legs aimed at Boss and released a silent force. This was his talent. This silent force was enough to tear apart the body of an ordinary eternal realm. It was like a sound wave, but it had no effect on Boss. Boss raised his claws and put his palms together. In the starry sky, a huge gravity extended from both sides and expanded infinitely, enveloping Miaozun. In the distance, the two Eternal Realm experts who were fighting separated and looked over in fear. What a terrifying power! They tacitly stopped fighting. God knows what would happen if they continued fighting. Miaozun roared, "I am the unknown, I am the unknown. You can't kill me. The unknown won't let you go." He opened his mouth, and an invisible world appeared, the Silent Realm. Under the Silent Realm, Boss's body exploded. He was surprised. Interesting. So it was this kind of power. All creatures had blood flowing in their bodies. When there was blood flowing, there would be sound, but ordinary people couldn't hear it. If this sound was taken away, it could also stop the flow of blood. It could further stop the operation of combat skills, which was equivalent to forcibly stopping creatures from attacking. However, this move couldn't affect Boss. The gap was too big. Boss pressed the gravity on the surface of his body. It was like a layer of black curtain covering the world that Miaozun couldn't see. On the surface of Miaozun's body, the vitality boiled. Together with the Eternal Realm substance, he sent out countless sound waves to Boss, their sound waves. Every sound wave was extremely lethal. Boss's eyes widened. It was over. The gravity slammed his palms together. Miaozun spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was squashed, and all his power dissipated. His body floated in the starry sky powerlessly. He was only one breath away from death. Boss grabbed Miaozun and went to the place agreed with Lu Yin. Not only the 7 Treasures Heavenly Toad clan was there, but Shui Taoyu was also there. Boss threw Miaozun on the ground. "I'll leave him to you." Shui Taoyu looked at the half-dead Miaozun and praised, as expected of Boss. "This Miaozun isn't weak, but he couldn't even hurt you." Boss was happy to hear this. He grinned, "I've done what I promised Lu Yin. Then, let's part ways here." Behind him, Old 4, Old 5, and Star Toad were all there. Boss wanted to take them away to find Little 18 along the jade-lined sky. They had to leave the area of the square inch. Shui Taoyu nodded, "Let's part ways here." Old 4 and Old 5 looked at each other. They wanted to say something, but they didn't. They were unwilling. Ancestor Shan was dead, and they had to leave without taking revenge. Boss was also unwilling, but what could he do? He could only come back when he broke through and matched the 3 universal laws. It wasn't that he wasn't coming back, but he was leaving temporarily. The human civilization had provoked too many strong enemies. The 7 Treasures Heavenly Toad clan didn't want to die with them. Star Toad was the most reluctant. He wanted to stay, but he had to be taken away. He was very important to the 7 Treasures Heavenly Toad clan. Boss patted Star Toad, "Child, let's go." Star Toad looked at Shui Taoyu and then looked into the distance. It was the direction of the human civilization. He really didn't want to leave. Not long after, boss left with the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad clan. Peace returned to the starry sky. The unknown door was also destroyed. Miao Zun's target civilization wasn't destroyed. He had failed the test. Miao Zun himself was captured. Knowing trace. Ba Color's voice was heard. Miao Zun failed the test. He will no longer be invited to join. What? Failed? How could he fail? De Mao was shocked. They had been waiting for the test results. The results didn't have much to do with Miao Zun, but it was directly related to Lu Yin. Miao Zun's attitude towards the human civilization and Lu Yin's need to enter knowing trace to worship the divine tree was what they wanted to see. They didn't expect that they would fail the test. Hee, did that little guy make a move? The old guy asked. De Mao said, it must have something to do with that guy. Otherwise, Miao Zun wouldn't have failed the test with his strength. Moreover, Miao Zun is probably dead. Ba Color said, we don't know if Miao Zun is dead or alive. The one who did it is 7 treasures Heavenly Toad. Chapter 4362. De Mao sneered, as expected, it's Lu Yin. 8 Color, even if Lu Yin didn't break the rules, he's slapping the unknown in the face. You were the one who invited Miao Zun to join. The old man laughed and said, interesting. Another voice sounded, this human is very despicable. 8 Color, ask Lu Yin to give an explanation. He must have broken the rules in this matter. The unknown won't allow this to happen. Another voice sounded. De Mao was surprised. Oh, even the old man who never speaks has spoken. Hee. 8 Color, I have to give him face. 8 Color said, Lu Yin didn't break the rules in this matter. If you want to confront him, you can. After saying that, he contacted Master Greengrass. Then, he found out that Lu Yin was in the Red Coat civilization below the star and immediately contacted Red Hero. Not long after, Lu Yin disappeared. It seemed that Miao Zun had been dealt with. 8 Color, why are you looking for me in such a hurry? Lu Yin asked. 8 Color said, Miao Zun failed the assessment. I don't know if he's dead or alive. The one who attacked, the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad. Lu Yin was surprised. 7 treasures Heavenly Toad. Where are those traitors? Tell me, my human civilization was kind enough to take them in, but they ran away. I won't let them go. De Mao sneered, Lu Yin, stop pretending, you were the one who ordered the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad to deal with Miao Zun, otherwise, how could they go? It's so far away, other than your teleportation and my unknown portal, it's impossible to reach in just a few decades. Lu Yin raised his eyebrows. You mean I'm dealing with Miao Zun? Isn't that so? De Mao, your brain is full of hair. You're saying such things. You. What about me? Use your brain and think about it. Would I lose the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad clan to deal with a mere Miao Zun? 8 Color, go and take a look. The 7 treasures Heavenly Toad clan has run away and completely left our human civilization. This can't be faked. Also, how do I know where Miao Zun's assessment is? Go and ask Red Hero. I've been in the Red Coat civilization below the star for more than 20 years. Go and ask him. These words made De Mao not sure. The 7 treasures Heavenly Toad clan's departure. Perhaps it was because they were about to leave and use this matter. However, if Lu Yin hadn't left the Red Shirt civilization in the past 20 years, then how could he have brought the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad tribe over? It had been more than 20 years. If they were to plan ahead, they would have to know the test coordinates in advance. At that time, they had only just found out. Red Hero would not be so stupid as to tell him the coordinates at that time. Jizong fell silent. An unfamiliar voice said, Orange, is what Lu Yin said true? Lu Yin's eyes flashed. This was an unfamiliar voice. Was this an old fellow from the unknown hiding place? Red Hero did not answer. Lu Yin sneered, "What's wrong, Red Hero? Are you unwilling to testify for me? That's not up to you. The truth is the truth. It's useless even if you want to hide it." 8 Colors said, "Orange, please answer." Red Hero opened his mouth helplessly. His voice was low and filled with unwillingness. "Yes." "Speak clearly," Lu Yin reminded. Red Hero's tone gradually turned cold. "He has been in the Red Coat civilization under my star for the past 23 years. He has never left." It was indeed frustrating to have someone testify for the enemy. All the unknowns felt it, but there was nothing they could do. The truth was the truth, and Red Hero's words were the most trustworthy. Demao could not say anything. Everyone knew that Lu Yin was the one who dealt with Miao Zun. This was also a fact, but it was a fact that no one could prove. Lu Yin was now on the verge of breaking the rules. No one asked how the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad found Miao Zun in just 23 years. Lu Yin could also say that he did not know. He did not need to be responsible for the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad. If that's the case, then this matter is over. Miao Zun has failed the test. If anyone is suitable, you can invite them to join, 8 Colors concluded. Yellow was unwilling. This matter is over. What about the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad? Lu Yin frowned. Yellow was even more hateful than Demao. He had his eyes on him. What I'm going to say next is related to the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad. 8 Colors said slowly, the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad has disappeared through the jade crack in the sky. If you want to find them, you must capture the jade crack in the sky. At the same time, capturing the jade crack in the sky and destroying the jade universe is a mission unknown to me. Once the location of the jade universe is determined, a forced expedition may begin. Please be prepared. Lu Yin was surprised. Forced expedition. Again. Isn't destroying the jade universe a 4-star mission? Who has already taken it? Why is there a forced expedition? It did not say that the target of the forced expedition is the jade universe, 8 Colors explained. There are not many forced expeditions in the history of the unknown, but there are also quite a few. Little guy, do you want me to save you this time? The old man laughed. Lu Yin said, even if the forced expedition does not have the rogue characteristics of the Muddy Kingdom, you will still be bound by the karma if you are not careful. Do you want me to help you this time? Eradicating the Jade Universe is a mission. At the same time, we have to deal with the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad clan. This clan used to be the enemy of the unknown. If it was not for Elder Shan's strength, they would have been destroyed long ago, Yellow said. Lu Yin's face darkened. 8 Colors, since Lu Yin said that the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad clan betrayed the human civilization, let him deal with this clan. Consider it a mission for him, Yellow continued. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold. Yellow, I think your brain is worse than Red Hero's. I have an unknown mission, and the boss of the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad clan is an existence that fits the laws of 2 universes. You should be the ones to deal with it. Or are you saying that you don't have the ability? Just say it if you don't have the ability. I think you are worse than Demao. It was right to call you Air Mao. What do you think? Air Mao. Yellow's voice was cold. Don't you want to deal with the 7 treasures Heavenly Toad clan? But this clan must be destroyed, whether it's you or me. If you don't want to do it, leave it to me. Lu Yin sneered. Sure. Air Mao dared to say that. Leave it to him. Could it be that he was confident in dealing with Boss and the others? Or was he the one who had his eyes on Elder Shan? Lu Yin suddenly thought of this. Alright, Luin dodged another bullet. He can stop one Miaozun, but he can't stop a second one. Am I right, Luin? Demao provoked. Luin said calmly, it has nothing to do with me. I am innocent. Humph, 8 colors, I will go and capture that jade-lined sky. Open the door for me. Demao did not pester him. Luin said, let me go. This is my mission. Demao said, hee, this is also my mission. Luin did not argue. It was meaningless. Even if he captured jade-lined sky, he could not wait for Boss and the others to find little 18. Hee, 8 colors, I suggest that you join the new unknowns as soon as possible. Since jade-lined sky has been captured, I believe the war will begin soon. 8 colors said, there are suitable creatures and they are communicating with them. Is that so? I am looking forward to it. Hee. I am looking forward to it too. Demao smiled. Let's see who can stop it. Luin left knowing Trace and said goodbye to Jiao Wen before returning to the 3 universes. There was no need to stay here now. He had to find a way to give the unknowns something to do. Otherwise, he would not be able to stop new creatures from joining. He did not know how Boss and the others were doing through jade-lined sky. The other side was most likely the Jade universe. Even so, Boss and the others could protect themselves with their strength. Not to mention the Jade universe, even if Boss could not defeat those unknowns would not necessarily bear the karma of killing them. This was the confidence of the Eternal Realm. The problem now was that 8 colors would soon invite new people to join them. How could he find something to do? There was also Miaozun. He had something to ask, but he could not release him yet. Who knew if there was a way to find him? Even if he was released for interrogation, it would take some time. Luin looked back at the red-shirt civilization below the planet. He still had 2 coordinates. One was definitely Demao's, but where was the other? Red Hero had given him coordinates twice. The first time, there were 4, and the second time, there were 3. He had clearly said that Demao's coordinates were on both occasions. Luin looked at the 2 coordinates. This one was slightly closer, but it was also slightly further than the 10-eyed crow's location. It was very likely to be Demao's location since the other coordinate was too far away. Suddenly, he thought of something and stared at the other coordinate. If Red Hero had given this coordinate to deal with him, then the one that could deal with him the most and was also related to Red Hero was Xianling. Yes, it was Xianling. Red Hero was very powerful, and he had found more than one coordinate that was a threat to him. Ro Yuzhou and the 10-eyed crow were both. Luin had seen too few abilities that could threaten him with teleportation, and it was already quite impressive that Red Hero had found 2. He did not believe that Red Hero had more. Xianling was the only one that posed the greatest threat to him. Red Hero had once betrayed humanity and knelt before Xianling, so it was not impossible for him to know Xianling's location. Even Immortal Master had been controlled because he had accidentally found Xianling's civilization. Yes, it was Xianling. He should have thought of it earlier. Red Hero had not given Xianling the coordinates from the start because the distance was too far, and he was afraid that Luin would immediately guess it. Red Hero would rather use Ro Yuzhou and the 10-eyed crow as a means to deal with Luin. In the end, when Luin could not even deal with the 10-eyed crow, he had given Xianling's coordinates. That should be it. Luin put away the coordinates. He knew what kind of trouble he should cause for the unknown. Before that, he would go to another coordinate. After teleporting again and again, Luin arrived at another coordinate. He was 20 years away from the Eternal Realm, and he saw the Mother Forest. It was the Mother Forest again. How many Mother Forests did Demao hide? He teleported into the Mother Forest, and not long after, the forest disappeared. All the green dots entered the void of space in his heart. Very good, there was another group. Demao was not here, as he had gone to capture Jade-lined sky. There was another door besides the mother forest. Luin glanced at the door and then destroyed it. He would let Demao find a way to return on its own. Luin teleported several times away from the previous location and then lay down in the hanging coffin. He entered Trace and waited for Demao. After some time, Demao entered Trace with anger and curses. He cursed more fiercely than he had ever cursed before because the door to return had been destroyed. He contacted 8-Color and asked it to return, but when it saw that the mother forest was gone, the first thing it thought of was Luin. End of chapter. Chapter 43-63. Demao wasn't scolding Luin, but Red Hero. The scolding had completely lost its composure, and the divine tree was shaking. Che said kindly, "Could it be a misunderstanding? It might not be Luin." Demao was furious. "Shut up, it has nothing to do with you. The mother forest is gone, who else would want it except for Luin? Red Hero, come out and fight me if you dare." The old man was speechless. "Why is Red Hero so clear about your whereabouts? Shouldn't you reflect on yourself?" Demao was speechless for a moment. He was too careless. Red Hero must have been watching him. He thought Red Hero only knew 1 or 2 of his locations. Now it seemed that was not the case. But why was Red Hero watching him? Was he trying to plot against him? Demao broke out in a cold sweat. If he really wanted to plot against him, he might not be able to escape. Although he was confident in fighting Red Hero, plotting against him was another matter. Fortunately, Luin forced Red Hero into a corner and kept exposing his location. Otherwise, he wouldn't have known that Red Hero was watching him so closely. No, he had to change all his locations. If Red Hero forced him to do this, he wouldn't have an easy time. "I told you, Luin found me once. I'll expose you guys. Luin, I know you're here. Listen, all the unknown portals come from White," Demao shouted. "Cyan." A loud shout was heard. It came from 8-Colors. Luin was shocked. He had never seen 8-Colors angry. Knowing whereabouts was silent. The divine tree shook. At this moment, the multicolored light was filled with coldness. It made Luin want to leave knowing whereabouts subconsciously. He felt as if the sky was falling and the earth was caving in. Was this the power of 8-Colors? It was just his consciousness entering knowing whereabouts. 8-Colors, you don't have to threaten me. Everyone knows the rules of the unknown. I didn't break the rules. It was Red Hero who broke the rules. You should look for him. Demao was fearless. 8-Colors didn't answer, and knowing whereabouts fell into silence. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. First, it was clear, then 8-Colors, they were all angry. He couldn't force them anymore, or the situation would get out of control. He knew a lot during this time. 8-Colors would definitely find a way to stop Red Hero from giving him Demao's coordinates. They had to compromise with each other, and he had to compromise too. Let's change direction. At the same time, 8-Colors. Red Hero's voice was cold. You shouldn't have intervened. I didn't break the rules. Sometimes, the unspoken rules were better than the rules. More importantly, do you understand? Orange. I know, but I also want an answer. I didn't join the unknowns just to be schemed against. What answer do you want? Who told Gio what I said? Who is scheming against me behind the scenes? I want this answer. I can't give you an answer. That's why Luin can help me find it. Orange, do you still remember why you chose unknown instead of immortal feather? Red Hero's body trembled as fear flashed through his eyes. It's too late when the unknown terror hits you. Jiolei can't bear it, And neither can you, said Eight Colors slowly. Red Hero took a deep breath. After so many years, he thought that he had forgotten that fear, but at this moment, it appeared again. That's right, he had forgotten. He had always wanted to break through for no other reason than to break free from that fear. However, he was now provoking that fear. Lu Yin could provoke him because he couldn't see clearly, but he shouldn't. He had forgotten all about it. Eight Colors, please tell me again that the unknowns can't attack each other, right? Eight Colors said, yes. No one can break this rule, right? Yes. Okay, I understand. Last question, has my mission been completed? Eight Colors said, not yet. Red Hero left. Lu Yin was still waiting at this moment. He was waiting for the result of this matter, but all he got was silence. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month had passed, and there was still no news. He knew that he couldn't wait any longer. He had to see Red Hero's attitude first. When he arrived at the Red Coat civilization, Lu Yin looked for Red Hero. Red Hero avoided him at first, but as Lu Yin began to forcefully take people away, he couldn't help but come out. If you take one more person away, I'll kill one of the remaining people. These were Red Hero's words that spread throughout the Red Coat civilization. Lu Yin didn't doubt that Red Hero would do it. This kind of person had no bottom line. You know why I'm here. Cut the crap. You have your plan, and I have mine. Hurry up. Red Hero stared at Lu Yin coldly. Have you seen all the coordinates I gave you? Lu Yin said indifferently, you gave me a total of 3 coordinates. The first one was Demao's, and I found Demao's the second and third time. There are still some coordinates that I haven't seen. There's no need to, just give me new ones. Anyway, the remaining coordinates definitely aren't Demao's. Maybe it's your trap. I don't plan to go. Red Hero left without saying a word. He didn't say anything, neither did he say anything. Lu Yin frowned. Why? Don't you want to continue? We worked well together. A few more times, and I might be able to get the information you want. Red Hero still didn't respond. What did Eight Colors do to make Red Hero give up on using him to find the mastermind? For a moment, Lu Yin was even more afraid of Eight Colors. Next, the last coordinate, Xianling. Lu Yin took a deep breath. He didn't dare to go there because it was scary. Similarly, he didn't dare to go to Xianling because there must be a powerhouse in Xianling who conformed to the 3 universal laws. But there was a fundamental difference between the two. If he went to Xianling, all the unknowns would know that he had gone. If he went to Xianling, Xianling wouldn't know in advance. Although it was risky, what wasn't risky on the path of cultivation? It was risky for him to go to the coordinates given by Red Hero. It was risky for him to participate in the forced expedition. If he didn't know that there would be new people joining, he would have to go to Xianling with his main body, which was even more risky. Compared to going to Xianling, he would rather go to the Xianling civilization. Legend had it that those strange birds were sleeping to resolve the karmic restraints. Yulu had awakened and just happened to go to the 3 universes. According to the Divine Master's speculation, if a stronger Xianling had awakened, it would join forces with Yulu to go to the 3 universes. Since it hadn't gone, it meant that no other Xianling had awakened. It was relatively safe to go to the Xianling civilization now. Lu Yin's eyes flickered, and he teleported in the direction of the 3 universes. He first avoided Red Hero's line of sight and took a detour to the last coordinate. In the Red Hero universe below the stars, Red Hero watched Lu Yin teleport and disappear. The distance of this teleportation didn't exceed his attack range. He could sense where Lu Yin had teleported to, but of course, he couldn't see it. Did he go back? Other than the first coordinate that was given to the Source Master, 7 coordinates were given in total for the last 2 times, including the 10-eyed crow and Xianling. This kid's luck was so good that he could find the source master without touching any of the 2 coordinates. But even so, would he really not go to the rest of the coordinates? Red Hero didn't believe it. As long as he had the coordinates, there would be a day when this kid would find it. Whether it was the 10-eyed crow or Xianling, they could bury him, especially the 10-eyed crow. Those strange birds might be sleeping, but the 10-eyed crow was already dead. As long as he looked at it, he wouldn't be able to move. As long as he couldn't move, Luin would die there. In order to get rid of you, I even revealed the location of the 10-eyed crow. That's something that even the unknowable and Xianling want, Red Hero muttered to himself, his eyes filled with coldness. The distance in the dark and deep space didn't seem to be any different, but after teleporting again and again, he would always notice the difference. A few days had passed since he left the Red Hero's civilization below the stars. Luin kept teleporting without stopping, and he was getting closer and closer to the coordinates. Ever since he obtained the teleportation talent, he had never teleported so frequently. To be honest, the further he was from the 3 universes, the more nervous he was. If it was an ordinary eternal realm, it would take a very long time to rush back. But he still hadn't reached the destination. Continue. He guessed that the furthest coordinate was Xianling, but seeing it with his own eyes gave him a different feeling. Looking at the big tree that almost propped up the universe in the distance, Luin felt like he was facing the unknowable divine tree. The unknowable divine tree was also so big and majestic. The mother tree seemed small in front of the divine tree, and Xianling's tree was just as small as the divine tree. Countless creatures flew, but they all circled around the big tree and didn't go up. It was as if there was an invisible force suppressing those creatures. That should be where Xianling was. Xianling and those strange birds probably lived on the tree crown. Luin didn't dare to look at the tree crown. After reaching a certain level, one could sense it with their eyes, no matter how far away they were. He suppressed his aura, took out the hanging coffin and drew a door. This door could directly enter Jizong. Jizong had asked him to worship the divine tree, so he would place it here. He couldn't stop the 8 colors from finding new members to join the unknowns, so he could only find something for them to do. But he couldn't be sure of the time. He couldn't be sure when Xianling would discover this door. As for luring it, it was impossible. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to escape once he did. He had taken a huge risk by coming here. After placing the door in place, Luin looked at the big tree in the distance, and a dark red land appeared in his mind. Xianling danced in the wind, and a lonely figure climbed the mountain peak. The hatred of the Red Lotus Tomb and the enmity of the 9th base would be settled one day. Luin teleported away and rushed back to the 3 universes. He entered the Mirage domain and used it to cultivate the mirroring technique. The time he could see was still too short, and he wanted to see further. If he could see a distance of 100 or 200 years, then he wouldn't be afraid. Even existences that conformed to the laws of the 3 universes would find it difficult to detect them. Time continued to pass, and Luin continued to deduce the mirroring technique. 30 years, 35 years, 40 years, 50 years. He exhaled. 50 years was enough for him to see the distance of an ordinary eternal realm. He rubbed his head. It would be great if he could control the technological fishing civilization and use their abilities to deduce the technique faster. He walked towards the forbidden area and tried to look for Hong Shuang again. He walked around but couldn't find her. He was unwilling to give up and looked around a few more times, but he still couldn't find her. If that door could really lure Xianling and the unknowns to fight, then he would definitely appear on the battlefield. How should he deal with Xianling? Should he bring Uncle Jiang along? That would be inconvenient. Chapter 43-64. Red Hero's method was effective, but he did not cultivate the ruthless path and could not use the red umbrella to capture the strange bird. It would be great if he could find the second barrier's treasure, the turbid red umbrella. That umbrella would definitely be successful. Xian Ling's teleportation could break through the ruthless path's Sanluo umbrella prison. On the other hand, the Sanluo umbrella prison was also the nemesis of teleportation. If he could not find the treasure, what about others? Lu Yin thought for a moment and headed towards the red coat civilization. My red umbrella. Jiu Wen was surprised. Lu Yin nodded. I know this request is overboard, but to deal with Xian Ling, I have to use the ruthless path. I can't cultivate it myself, so I want to try and see if I can use your red umbrella. Jiu Wen nodded. I see. Red Hero can suppress Xian Ling because of the Sanluo umbrella prison. But I heard that Xian Ling's teleportation is used to break through the Sanluo umbrella prison. How did Red Hero do it? Lu Yin explained Red Hero's method. It sounded simple, but whether it was the Sanluo umbrella prison or the unknown god power lines, they were not something ordinary people could possess. One had to possess two powers at the same time, and they were both inherited powers of the fishing civilization. No one could do it if they were placed alone in the unknown or the red coat civilization. Only Red Hero could weave a birdcage that could break through teleportation by combining two powers. If you don't cultivate the ruthless path, it's useless even if I give you the red umbrella. You can't even open it, Jiu Wen said. It was not that he was unwilling to give the red umbrella to Lu Yin. After all, he was someone who was ready to die at any time. It was useless to keep the red umbrella. However, what was the point of handing over the red umbrella if he could not use it? Lu Yin had already thought about this. What level do I have to reach to open your red umbrella? Jiu Wen thought for a moment. It's not about strength, but about perseverance towards the ruthless path. My second barrier's treasure is the red umbrella. It belongs to the Red Frost Fortress Master. However, other than the Fortress Master, there are still people who can open it because of perseverance. In other words, it's recognition of the ruthless path, or the ruthless path's recognition of this person. Although the ruthless path is different, it originates from the same power and philosophy. Lu Yin took out the jade that Chu Songyun had used to become Lu Yin's disciple from his cosmic ring and scattered it across the entire red shirt civilization. Back then, countless people had taken pictures of this scene to let the red shirt civilization know that Lu Yin would not treat the red shirts differently. Among his disciples, there were red shirt cultivators. At the same time, Jiu Wen also saw it. He saw Chu Songyun climb the celestial stairway step by step and become Lu Yin's disciple. After that, he struggled between the Heartless Tao and the Nirvana tree. Chu Songyun was clearly unwilling to cultivate the Heartless path. He had wanted to escape from the Red Coat civilization countless times. However, at that moment, he had chosen the Heartless path. He had made up his mind. Jiu Wen had seen that determination in his eyes. It was as if he saw his master and his past self. He saw the man with his back facing all living beings, climbing the peak. In the end, he was the one who buried himself, his lover, and his 3 immortal feathers. Then it was the Heartless Tao, the persistence and the desire for the Heartless Tao. Can he open Senior's red umbrella? Lu Yin asked. At that moment, ripples appeared in the starry sky. They came from a corner. All the images dissipated, and the jade shattered. The Red Hero had made his move. Lu Yin did not stop him. After all, many people had seen it. It would eventually spread. When the red coats under the stars entered the 3 universes in the future, the difficulty of breaking in would be much lower. Jiu Wen laughed. His laughter was carefree and filled with gratification. I didn't expect to see that kind of gaze in the current red coat era. Everyone was wrong. Only he was right. The red coat under the stars that he had always wanted to leave was the red coat under the stars that I and the red hero had led him astray. The heartless path has a successor. Lu Yin also laughed. Didn't you think of this long ago, senior? Jiao Wen shook his head. I've always thought that Chu Songyun hated the heartless path and could not see his intentions clearly. Actually, it was fortunate that this was the case. If I had seen his obsession with the heartless path, I might have unconsciously protected him. Then, I would have been exposed, and it would have been easy for the red hero to notice. He looked up at the starry sky. I didn't expect that there would be a cultivator who could uphold the original heartless path in the current situation. Mr. Liu, do you know how difficult it is? Lu Yin nodded. Of course, he knew. The entire universe was telling you that doing this was wrong. You should learn from them. They had a complete inheritance and were extremely strong. That was an attempt that had been proven to be correct. Under such circumstances, it was hard to imagine the perseverance and persistence needed to uphold one's own ideals. Even Lu Yin was not confident that he could do it. However, Chu Songyun had not done it completely. He did not know what he hated about the heartless path. He did not know that the current heartless path was wrong. It was only because his innate gift dominated his heart. Of course, it was also not easy. In front of Jiao Wen, a red umbrella appeared and floated out of the blood tower. In the corner of the universe, the red hero saw this and wanted to stop him. However, Lu Yin was one step ahead of him. He grabbed the red umbrella and put it away. It was almost impossible to compete with the speed of teleportation. Furthermore, it was under the premise that Lu Yin was prepared. The red hero stared at Lu Yin. He wanted Jiao Wen's red umbrella to deal with Xianling. This person saw how the red hero dealt with his teleportation and wanted to follow suit. Would it be that easy? He did not cultivate the heartless path and wanted to rely on others to open the red umbrella to catch Xianling. Did he really think that those strange birds were easy to deal with? He understood why Lu Yin had let this universe see the scene of Chu Songyun becoming a disciple. Chu Songyun had actually been so persistent about the heartless path. This was beyond his expectations. If he had known this, he would have killed that brat long ago. However, it did not matter. Only when they truly faced Xianling would they know what despair was. If Xianling was so easy to deal with, she would not be a great enemy that even the unknowns would have a headache over. Did they really think that any civilization was qualified to participate in the siege of the 9th base? Did they really think that the red hero was so afraid of death that he was willing to bow down to any civilization? Xianling was different. Lu Yin left and brought Jiao Wen's red umbrella back to the three universes. He then brought Chu Songyun into the Mirage domain. He wanted to weave a birdcage. This was the only way to deal with Xianling. Of course, he also knew that Xianling had many tricks up her sleeve. Since the red hero had done such a thing, Xianling would definitely be thinking of ways to deal with it. However, he was helpless as there was no other way. Crow immobilization was very useful, but since the 10-eyed crow had killed Xianling before, it meant that Xianling understood the characteristics of crow immobilization. Xianling could launch a sneak attack once, but she could not launch a sneak attack a second time. Compared to the red hero, Lu Yin did not cultivate the heartless path and needed Chu Songyun's help. This was his weakness. However, he had 3 strands of divine power, which was his advantage. Even if he could not control them, he could take it slow. There was no point in being anxious. Although there was no time in the Mirage domain, it was still a macroscopic view of the outside world. After some time, Lu Yin brought Chu Songyun out. After all, Chu Songyun had not reached immortality, and Lu Yin was also trying to control 2 strands of divine power. He could not continue trying in the Mirage domain. He had to come out from time to time. Time continued to pass, and in the blink of an eye, more than 100 years had passed. During this period, Lu Yin had continuously tried to weave a birdcage. At the same time, he had also deduced the mirroring technique. He would occasionally go to Xiang City to take a look, but he did not enter. Most of the time, he was in the outside world, and he was building his mental state wall. There was a path, and he would be able to see the results if he continued walking down it. This was the most important thing right now. As for the birdcages, they were all completed in the mirage domain. It would not affect the time he spent building the high wall of his heart. On this day, Lu Yin was planting seedlings. That's right, he was planting seedlings. He wanted to experience the ordinary life of the world. To the average person, a piece of land and a harvest was the most beautiful thing in the world. Watching the sun set and having a group of children was more reassuring than chasing after fame and fortune. Lu Yin was a little addicted to such days. This was also the ordinary life that he yearned for. However, a peaceful life would always be disrupted. Lu Yin's expression changed. He straightened his back in the field, took a step forward, and instantly disappeared. The people around him did not notice. At the edge of the karmic celestial phenomenon, under the starry sky, a creature with a semi-oval head and brown skin that looked like a stone wall was floating. The force of inertia pushed it in the direction of the nine heavens universe. Lu Yin teleported and appeared and looked at this creature. It was actually an eternal realm creature. It looked like it was severely injured. Half of its head was gone, and its skin was not brown at the beginning. It was just torn open. This brown color was its blood, and it had dyed its entire body red. It had lost consciousness. Lu Yin caught it and brought it back, appearing in Yihai. Azure Lotus looked at this creature. An eternal realm creature was beaten so badly. It is not far from death. Otherwise, it would not have taken the risk to enter my karmic celestial phenomenon. Let's use karma to take a look. Lu Yin used karma to penetrate this creature and played out scenes of the past. Looking at the karma of an eternal realm creature took a long time. After a while, Lu Yin and Azure Lotus looked at each other. This eternal realm creature was actually from the Tufeng civilization. This was something they did not expect. In the past, this eternal realm creature had seen the karmic celestial phenomenon up close. There was another eternal realm creature beside it. He continued to look at the past. A few days later, Lu Yin exclaimed, "This Tufeng civilization is very strange." The so-called Tufeng civilization swallowed part of the flesh and blood of creatures and planted a seal in the creature's body. They can control the creature at will. The higher the cultivation of the creature, the more inclined it will be to the Tufeng civilization. That's why when I first saw the Tufeng civilization, the 5 eternal realms in it were almost not the same species. Azure Lotus sighed. There are many strange civilizations within the square meter. Chapter 4365. There was no need to consider what happened to the Tun Feng civilization. This civilization was destroyed, and these sealed creatures could not be sealed for other creatures. They were not essentially creatures of the Tun Feng civilization. They were just external creatures. What really made Lu Yin curious was how it was beaten so badly. What had happened to an eternal realm creature? If it could threaten an eternal realm creature, it could naturally threaten human civilization. He continued to use karma to look at the creature's karma past. Lu Yin and Qinglian Yu saw a lot. They saw the creature's cultivation and fighting past. They saw the technological civilization destroying the Tun Feng civilization and the fight between it and another eternal realm creature that had escaped from the Tun Feng civilization because of the armor plates. Seeing this scene, Lu Yin was pleasantly surprised. There were armor plates. An unexpected gain. Qinglian Yu smiled. These armor plates represented Ancestor Shan's knowledge. If he could collect all of them, he should be able to see the past 9 bases and obtain something. The reason why these two eternal realm creatures that had escaped from the Tun Fong civilization turned against each other over the armor plates was that they could not destroy them. They knew that the armor plates were good things, and they were not bound by the Tun Fong civilization. These two creatures were not of the same species, so it was normal for them to fight each other. However, they encountered an accident halfway through the fight. Lu Yin and Qinglian Yu looked at the karma past. Another eternal realm creature was wrapped in an unknown white magma-like thing, and its entire body was distorted. It looked extremely painful. This eternal realm creature took the opportunity to escape, but it was also hunted down. In the end, it dragged its half-dead body and spent 100 years to arrive at the karma celestial phenomenon. It entered the karma celestial phenomenon to avoid the white magma. Lu Yin looked in the direction of this eternal realm creature with the mirroring technique. He could now see about 50 years away. No, he did not see the white magma creature. Qinglian Yu's expression was solemn. Although these two eternal realm creatures are not strong and were injured from fighting each other, the white magma was able to attack them at the same time and render one of them defenseless. It is not weak. I will keep an eye outside the karma celestial phenomenon. Lu Yin searched this eternal realm creature and found 2 armor plates. However, in the karma past, this eternal realm creature was clearly competing with the other for 5 armor plates. There are 3 armor plates with the other eternal realm creature. I am going to get them back. Be careful of the white magma. Don't worry. Lu Yin teleported and disappeared, heading in the direction where the eternal life realm had encountered the white lava. Every time he teleported, it would take him 50 years to reach the eternal life realm's speed. But there was nothing in the starry sky, and the traces of the battle had disappeared 100 years ago. After all, 100 years had passed. It was neither long nor short. Lu Yin used mirroring to scan his surroundings, hoping that he would be lucky enough to see something. However, it was only 50 years, and the further he looked, the more he saw. The wider the range, it was impossible to include all of them. In the end, he returned to the 3 universes. While the eternal life realm was still alive, he threw it into the general appointment platform held to increase karma. This immortal realm was not a good person. In fact, it was unfair to describe creatures outside of human civilization as good or bad, because any creature outside of human civilization was not a good person for human civilization. Although the human civilization wanted to increase the number of immortal realm experts, they did not want everything. It would not do them any good to have more immortal realm experts, and they even had to be wary of them. At the very least, if the human civilization was in danger, this guy would definitely be the first to run. The human civilization already had a heaven-carrying immortal realm expert, so there was no need to add more immortal realm creatures. In the end, this immortal realm expert died because of its severe injuries. It did not even manage to increase karma completely. It was a wrong choice for it to escape to the human civilization. This also made Lu Yin think about what would happen if they encountered a life and death crisis one day and faced a foreign civilization. Would they hand their lives over to others? Teleporting to the consciousness universe, Lu Yin handed 2 pieces of armor to a 7 treasures heavenly toad and asked it to translate. Boss took away most of the 7 treasures heavenly toads and left some behind. It was to help Lu Yin translate the armor pieces, but it also did not want to put all of its eggs in one basket. After all, no one knew what would happen on the other side of Jade. Please help me translate. Thank you. Lu Yin handed the 2 pieces of armor to the 7 treasures heavenly toad in front of him. This 7 treasures heavenly toad was 25, which was younger than little 18. Its strength had reached the level of Dooku air, but it was slightly weaker than the star toad. It was also the most powerful 7 treasures heavenly toad left behind. 25 took the armor piece. Don't worry, I'm very calm. Lu Yin. Looking at the 2 pieces of armor, 25 first stared at one of them with a conflicted expression. Lu Yin did not know how he could tell that the toad was conflicted, but it was conflicted. 25 looked at the armor piece and then at Luin, as if confirming something. Luin felt uneasy. Could this guy be illiterate? 25 sighed as he thought about it. Lu Yin's heart was in his throat. You, then. You're the most suitable. Lu Yin was confused. What? 25 said, this armor piece recorded sixth uncle's aura. I don't know why the ancestor left it behind. We can already feel sixth uncle's aura, so the aura on this armor piece is obviously for an outsider. Sixth uncle. Old six of the seven treasures heavenly toad. The one that ancestor Shan called the most talented seven treasures heavenly toad in history, the genius that could surpass it as long as he was alive. This old six was thrown outside because he made a mistake, right? Boss and the others all thought that he was dead, Lu Yin asked. 25 nodded with a melancholy look. Sir, and the others are too naive. How could sixth uncle die so easily? Other than the ancestor, I'm the only one who guessed it. After all, I'm very calm and always think more about things. Lu Yin looked at the armor piece. Was it old six aura? The seven treasures heavenly toads could sense each other's aura, so ancestor Shan didn't have to do this. His only goal was for Lu Yin and the others to sense this aura and help find it if possible. This was a father's last hope for his son. Lu. 25 didn't know how to address Lu Yin. Call me seventh bro like the star toad. Okay, seventh bro. Is this aura for you or for others? Me. Okay. 25 placed the armor piece in Lu Yin's hand. The next moment, a warm current flowed into his body. It wasn't any kind of power, just some kind of aura. When the warm current entered his body, Lu Yin didn't feel anything. However, he knew that if old six appeared in a certain area one day, he would be able to sense it. There was also an armor piece. 25 looked at the armor piece carefully and didn't move for a long time. Lu Yin asked, hard to translate. I'm building up my emotions, 25 said. Lu Yin. He realized that he couldn't see through 25. Even the toad was so strange. Forget it, there's no need to build up your emotions. If your emotions aren't in place, you won't be calm. I'll just translate it into your language. 25 finished and rode in the void. At this moment, he was very serious and seemed to have some kind of sincerity. Lu Yin looked at the void, and his gaze gradually changed. In this old man's life, there are three people that I admire. The first is the omnipresent. His name is unknown, and his body is not seen. He watches the universe rise and fall, and sees the starry sky as nothing. The second is Pu Canghai's wisdom is like a plate. He has no words and is inconvenient to reveal. The third is the war god of 9 ramparts, Pan. Pan, the human civilization's war god of 9 ramparts. He wields the world's most powerful weapon, a divine steed that transcends time. 1 man, 1 weapon, and 1 horse, he alone guarded Xiang City. He fought against civilizations until the sun and moon lost their light. He was invincible. Only 2 words have been passed down, and they are the strongest of all time. This old man will never forget that when 9 ramparts was besieged by various civilizations, and when Xiang City was unable to fully defend itself, it was that person who walked out and said, "I'll come." These 2 words scattered the enemies. Until his death, Xiang City remained impregnable. He lived up to his name, Pan. That battle left the war god and the human civilization forever. No creature in the universe dares to call themselves the war god. To this day, this old man still finds it difficult to see how high Pan's realm is. Relying on his own strength, he became the courage of a civilization. This old man, Shan, admires him. There weren't many words, but they left Lu Yin speechless for a long time. He stared blankly at the words in the void, and he didn't regain his senses even after the words had completely disappeared. Patriarch Shan was a super powerhouse who was compatible with 3 laws of the universe, and he was also the strongest person Lu Yin had ever met. There were 3 things that he admired in his life, and one of them was the human cultivators that he was unwilling to interact with. He could sense Patriarch Shan's rejection of the human civilization, but even so, Pan was still worthy of his admiration. One could only imagine how much shock Pan had given him back then. Humanity's war god, the courage of a civilization. He had killed until no creature dared to call themselves the war god. How heroic and valiant was this? Lu Yin clenched his fists. Was there really someone who could rely on his own strength to defend a region while being surrounded by so many powerful civilizations? This confidence and this domineering aura would subdue even the enemy, let alone the human civilization itself. This was humanity's war god, Pan. That's all. Lu Yin looked at 25. 25 shook his head. That's all. Lu Yin frowned. What was the result? What happened to Pan? There was a sentence in the text that even in death, Xiang City was impregnable. Was Pan dead? Lu Yin's eyes were bloodshot. He could feel Pan's domineering aura, but he could also feel Pan's loneliness. Pan had defended a region by himself, and no one could help him. He had relied on the 2 words, "I'll come." From the moment he had said those words, Lu Yin knew that he was the only one in that region. Lu Yin's emotions surged. He wanted to return to the primordial era and participate in that war. He wanted to stand by Pan's side, even if he had to support Pan's weapon. Pan was definitely not the only powerhouse who had died for the human civilization. Countless people had died in that war, and many had shed blood for the sake of the civilization's inheritance. However, there had still been betrayals, causing everyone's efforts to go to waste. Red hero, red hero. Lu Yin's eyes were filled with killing intent. No matter the price, he would kill Red Hero. There was also the unknown, Xianling, and the Death Universe. They had surrounded the 9th base, destroyed the inheritances, and toyed with the humans. He would not let any of them go. 25 silently retreated. What a strong killing intent. Calm down and retreat again. End of chapter. Chapter 43-66. After a while, Lu Yin calmed himself down. The more he wanted to kill, the more he had to endure the loneliness. The 9th base had already been defeated, and the humans could not afford to lose again. He had fooled around with Zhizong, seduced Xianling, and cooperated with Red Hero. He was working hard, and there would be a day when he would settle the score. He looked back. Why did you run so far? 25 blinked. Well, I wanted to fart. I was afraid it would stink you. Lu Yin was speechless. He put away the 2 pieces of armor. 15 out of the 100 seals had passed, and there was still a long way to go. He teleported and headed straight for Xiang City. He wanted to see which side Guardian Pan was guarding and see if there were any traces left behind. However, he couldn't find anything even after circling the city. There were countless traces of battle in every direction of the city. Too much time had passed, and it was impossible to tell who was who. Finally, Lu Yin entered the city. He had been worried that he wouldn't be able to leave. He had been worried about this and that, but for some reason, he wasn't worried anymore. His ancestors had sworn to protect Xiang City with their lives. What did he have to fear? He would control Xiang City. He would. Lu Yin had changed after entering the city. He was no longer an ant, but rather a bird. He soared above the city and looked down on it. He could see it clearly now. It was huge, with 2 main streets intersecting and 4 city gates in 4 different directions. Originally, there had been a gate in each direction, but he couldn't see it from the outside. Were the 3 gates sealed? It would be easy to leave if he turned into a bird. Xiang City was a reflection of a person's inner self. In the past, Lu Yin had been an ant with aspirations higher than the heavens. He also possessed strength that surpassed the comprehension of ordinary people, but he had been too small to see the world clearly. Now that he had become a bird, he could see the world clearly. His will had become even more resilient. He had broken free from the shackles of the earth and spread his wings to soar. However, it was not without danger. Arrows flew past him, and he dodged them by a hair's breadth. He dodged them and swooped down. Someone had just shot at him, and although their arrows were not fast, he was still an ordinary bird and had almost been shot to death. Fortunately, he had dodged quickly. He hid under the eaves and looked at the streets in front of him. Compared to ants, birds were more eye-catching and dangerous. How was he supposed to control Xiang City? Was he supposed to turn into a human? Only a human could control a city. Yes, become a human. However, he was a human. Now that he had become a bird, how could he become a human again? His inner self changed according to his state of mind. His state of mind was still not enough. Since he had transformed into a bird, he would be able to see Xiang City clearly. The scenery that he couldn't see when he was an ant could be seen by a bird. He was in no hurry to leave. The birds flew past the eaves and into the distance. He wanted to find an opportunity to take control of Xiang City. Although the possibility was to transform into a human, what would happen after that? How should one control it? This was also a problem. There were also many creatures that Che had tossed into Xiang City, and Lu Yin wanted to find them so that he could understand Che through them. Soon, he left Xiang City with an insect. As soon as they left Xiang City, the insect transformed into a creature that Lu Yin had never seen before. It looked up at the sky and let out an excited howl before being slapped by Lu Yin. It then stood to the side respectfully. This guy was a little stupid. Or had he become stupid after staying in Xiang City for so long? Lu Yin had discovered the bug because it was too obvious. It had been lying under the eaves and had stood up to look outside. Who had ever seen an ordinary bug stand up and look outside? When Lu Yin had arrived as a bird, this thing had actually run away so quickly that it couldn't be anything other than a living creature. Now that he had brought it out, it was actually so excited. The outside world was much more dangerous than Xiang City. Tell me who you are. You only have one chance, or I'll toss you in again, Lu Yin threatened. Compared to death, this creature that had been in Xiang City all this time should be more afraid of going in. Sure enough, after hearing Lu Yin's threat, the creature didn't hesitate to tell him everything it knew. Lu Yin listened for a while, but it was pointless. This creature hadn't been tossed in alone by Che. It had been sleeping and had turned into an insect the moment it opened its eyes. Fortunately, it had fallen under the eaves and hadn't been disturbed by anyone or any natural predators, which had allowed it to survive until now. It didn't know anything, and there was only one Eve in the world. It had tried to escape once, but it had almost been trampled to death. After that, it had given up and accepted its fate. It was nothing more than a small fry in a civilization. Lu Yin was disappointed, but he still closed mouth supreme and continued. He entered Xiang City again and brought out another creature after a while. It was a chicken, and Lu Yin found it inconceivable that it had been able to survive until now. A chicken had actually managed to survive until now. Thank you for saving me, my lord. Thank you for saving me. I was adopted. Fortunately, the owner was kind and didn't eat me. He only raised me as a pet. My poor brother was eaten just like that. Lu Yin looked at it. Who's your brother? Another chicken. They really were brothers, even their inner aspects were the same. Speaking of which, what kind of inner aspect would turn into a chicken? This fellow didn't know anything and hadn't even reached the eternal realm. It didn't even have the qualifications to know the truth, so it had been tossed into Xiang City. This was Che's experiment, but it was a disaster for these creatures. Perhaps this was a civilization. Lu Yin entered Xiang City again and brought out more creatures. 10 years had passed, and he had brought out many creatures, but they were just a drop in the ocean compared to the enormous city. During these 10 years, he had learned many things about Xiang City, the most famous of which was that it was haunted. At night, Xiang City would be haunted. In reality, it was the creatures that had turned into all kinds of creatures and even objects that were running around. Some knew that they could leave by touching the city gates, while others didn't. Che's experiment seemed to tell some creatures the truth, but not others. He had tried many different things. This caused Xiang City to be haunted at night, and only when there were many people would dare to go out. Sometimes, there would even be curfews. The creatures that Lu Yin brought out were all different. During these 10 years, he had turned into a bird and cautiously circled under the eaves of the various houses. Just like that bug, he would be easily targeted if he flew just a little higher. One day, he was sunbathing when he heard a commotion followed by the crying of a child. He was dumbfounded when he saw a child crawl out of the latrine and run into a room. What followed was another round of chaos. Lu Yin sympathized with the poor child. He spread his wings and flew high. Don't smoke him. Not long after, the child fell in again. The adults scolded him, and the child's cries gave him a headache. Mother, I didn't fall in on purpose. You're still denying it. That latrine is used by our family. Your grandfather and father have been there since they were young, so why haven't they fallen in? You fell in twice in a row. I'll beat you to death. Mother, I didn't. A few days later, the child fell in again. Lu Yin was speechless. No one would believe him if he said that he hadn't done it on purpose. Another round of scolding followed. However, the family still demolished the latrine and rebuilt it. Some teachers said that it had violated the feng shui, and the child said that a stone had blinded his eyes and caused him to fall in. Thus, the surrounding stones were all thrown away. In the dead of the night, outside the outhouse, among a pile of rocks, a rock moved and rolled in a certain direction. A sharp claw descended from the sky and pressed down on the stone. Lu Yin looked at the stone beneath his feet and felt that something was wrong. So this was the reason why the child kept falling in. Whose inner form was a stone? And who was unlucky enough to become a stone in the latrine? This stone had been one of the stones used to build the latrine. How unlucky! He wasn't very obedient, so he raised a hand and grabbed at it. Bang! The void trembled as countless cracks spread out like lightning. The stone monster's gaze was savage at first, but then it was filled with shock and disbelief. Its arm had been grabbed. End of chapter. Chapter 4367. Lu Yin grabbed the stone monster's arm with one hand and slowly raised his eyes. I don't think I have offended you, stone monster. The stone monster looked at Lu Yin in disbelief. How could it be? How could his arm be grabbed? With such a powerful blow, this guy was obviously not an eternal realm expert. It was impossible. Lu Yin's mouth curled up, and he kicked out while freezing the void. This kick hit the stone monster hard, but because of the freezing void, it was not kicked away by the huge force. As a result, cracks appeared on its body. He had completely taken the blow. The stone monster wailed and saw Lu Yin lift his foot again. It hurriedly begged, stop fighting, stop fighting. Lu Yin sneered, do you think you can stop fighting just because you say so? After saying that, he kicked out again, and this kick almost shattered the stone monster's body. The stone monster wailed again, it's my fault, this powerhouse, it's my fault, please stop fighting. Luin let go, and the stone monster kept retreating. Covering its broken body, its eyes were full of pain. This guy was obviously not an eternal life. How could he be as strong as a monster? His strength was useless, and his vitality and eternal matter could not stop his kick at all. What was going on? This was a scoundrel, but how could a scoundrel be so strong? The stone monster was puzzled. Ever since it encountered that guy, life was full of tragedies. It slowly retreated. Lu Yin's voice came, "If you retreat again, I won't be polite." The stone golem stopped, and its eyes curved into crescents as it forced a smile at Lu Yin. It tried its best to sound as gentle as possible. "Hey, powerhouse, that was a misunderstanding, and I still haven't come back to my senses." "Right, you saved me, right? Thank you, powerhouse." Lu Yin looked at the stone monster. "As an eternal life, you are so weak and pitiful." The strength of this stone monster was similar to that of the eternal life realm monster. It was estimated that it was similar to the eternal life realm that swallowed the sealed civilization. They belonged to the lowest level of eternal life. The stone monster was speechless. It was not like this, and it was looked down upon. If it weren't for that guy who shattered its weapon, would a scoundrel have the chance to be arrogant? The strength of their race was concentrated on weapons. "Why did you attack me?" Lu Yin asked. The stone monster said carefully, "I haven't recovered yet." Lu Yin smiled, "I can still throw you in." The stone monster was shocked. It would rather die than go in again. If it went in again, it would turn into stone. Who knew where the stone would be this time? If you were at the bottom of the latrine pit, just the thought of it was terrifying. "Honorable expert, please don't do that. I didn't offend you. How about this? I'm willing to serve you for 10,000 years in return. After all, I'm an eternal being and can protect your civilization. Please give me a chance. Eternal life means nothing to me. I'll ask, and you'll answer. If you say something wrong, I'll toss you in. I have my ways to verify it, so don't make a mistake." "Yes, I will definitely tell you. I won't hide anything." "Why did you attack me?" "Because you looked the same as the creature in the city. I thought you were on the same side." "How did you get in?" "Caught." "Who caught you?" Lu Yin stared at the stone golem. The stone monster said bitterly, "No, I didn't see it clearly. I only remember a sword, like a string of planets." Lu Yin immediately thought of the celestial sword, as it was Clear's weapon. It had once chased a meteorite into the consciousness universe, but it had been shattered. Clear had then gone to the consciousness universe to retrieve the celestial sword. "What did you find after entering Xiang City?" "What did you find? You didn't stay in the latrine all the time, did you?" The stone monster fell silent. Lu Yin frowned. "Seems like it's useless." As he spoke, a karmic spiral appeared at his fingertips and shot towards the stone monster. The stone monster could not see karma, but it instinctively dodged. "Try moving again," Lu Yin threatened. The stone monster did not dare to move and allowed the karmic spiral to penetrate it. It was confused at first, but then it suddenly thought of something and was shocked. This is karma. As an eternal realm, it was possible for it to not see karma, but it was impossible for it to be completely ignorant. Lu Yin said, "I hope you're not lying to me. Otherwise, you can continue staying in the latrine." The stone monster hurriedly said, "You asked. I'm not lying." "Oh. There's still a chance. Say something valuable." "I was the one who mobilized the Nightwalker." Lu Yin was stunned. "What Nightwalker?" The stone monster was shocked. "You don't know." "I don't." The stone monster regretted it. If it had known, it would not have said it. But now that it had said it, there was no room for it to hide anything. Helpless, it slowly opened its mouth and revealed its greatest value. It had not been captured by itself, but rather by an entire civilization. This was something that Luin was aware of, as he had previously brought out a few similar stone monsters. It was just that he had not paid much attention to it, as it would not have been surprising if Clear had tossed an entire civilization into Xiang City. What was surprising was that this stone monster's civilization had a unique method of communication. Within Xiang City, the stone monster could not escape and was stuck in the latrine, but it could use its unique method to mobilize all of its civilization's creatures and activate the Nightwalker several times. The so-called Nightwalker involved all sorts of creatures attacking the city gates at night. Of course, the results were tragic, and they were all incinerated. However, this was just the stone monster's experiment. The Nightwalker was not the main point. The main point was that the stone monster could use its unique method to contact the creatures of its civilization within Xiang City. This was what it believed to be its greatest value. It did not know why it had been thrown into Xiang City, but being able to do such a thing meant that it was very valuable. If you can contact the creatures of your civilization, why don't you let them save you? I'm the only eternal realm ancestor in my civilization. If they see me stuck in the latrine, I'd rather die. The stone monster was very resolute, and it paused for a moment. Besides, I'm confident that I can slowly grind my way out. What if you fall into the latrine? Luin asked. The stone monster was speechless. Even then, it could still escape. At the very least, it would not be stuck there. Luin looked at the stone monster's karmic past and saw that it had activated its thousand forms Nightwalker. It was silent, and it seemed to be mobilizing something. There was also a cat running past the outhouse. It was definitely a creature from the same civilization as the stone monster. The stone monster could have let the cat save it. But from another perspective, it might not have just been unable to put down its pride. It might also have been afraid of being assassinated. If a creature of its civilization threw it into a river, it would never be able to turn over. Its life was still in its own hands. Time continued to pass, and Luin looked at the stone monster's karma. He saw the heavenly forged sword descend, and he also saw the stone monster's true strength. It was still not strong enough, or else its weapon would not have been shattered by the heavenly forged sword. However, Clear had been present in that battle. Otherwise, the heavenly forged sword alone would not have been able to defeat an eternal realm. For the next half a year, Luin looked at the stone monster's history of cultivation, including its experience in the latrine. Aside from you, no one else in your civilization can activate the Nightwalker. The stone monster looked at Luin and had a bad feeling. Luin smiled at it, and the Dianjiang platform hell appeared not far away. He kicked the stone monster in, increasing its karma first. The stone monster wanted to rush out, but Luin said coldly, "If you dare to move, I'll press you to the bottom of the latrine." The stone monster did not move. Despicable. When the stone monster's karma was completely increased, Luin brought it back to Xiang City. The stone monster begged, "Powerhouse, I'm not hiding anything. Why are you still letting me in?" Luin said, "After you enter, at night, use 3 soft sounds as a signal. Find me, and I'll put you in a comfortable place. Wait for my command to activate the Nightwalker. If you dare to disobey, I guarantee that you won't be able to leave for the rest of your life." The stone monster still wanted to beg, but it was useless. It was brought to Xiang City. Luin transformed into a bird and hid under the eaves, quietly waiting for night to fall. As the night watchman rang, Luin flew above Xiang City, searching for the 3 soft sounds. He soon found it, and it wasn't far. The stone monster was lucky this time, and the stone was on the roof. This place isn't bad. It has a good view, and no one will disturb me. The stone monster also felt that this place was not bad. Of course, it would be best if it could leave. When do I activate the Nightwalker? Wait for my signal. Don't worry, cooperate with me and you'll be able to leave. Luin grabbed the stone and flew towards the tree. The stone monster was shocked, not knowing where Luin was taking it. It did not want to go to the latrine. In the end, Luin stuck it in the tree's branches. This way, the stone monster could not move on its own. The view here was better, and no one would disturb it. Otherwise, the stone monster would have rolled towards the city gates in the night, and Luin would not have been able to find it. After Luin left, the stone monster sighed at its bad luck. It had finally escaped from the latrine, and it could have waited until nighttime to leave. It had not expected to be targeted by Luin. Luin did not immediately leave Xiang City. Instead, he stayed there for more than 10 years before leaving. During this time, many more creatures were brought out, but none of them were at the Eternal Realm. Aside from those that Luin had brought out, there were also creatures that had managed to escape from Xiang City with their own abilities. Although they could escape from Xiang City, they could not escape from Lu Yin's grasp. Without reaching the Eternal Realm, Luin could find them with a single thought, even if they fled for thousands of years. He would check on the stone monster from time to time as a warning to prevent the stone monster from contacting other creatures from his own civilization to save it. Luin suddenly thought of selecting a group of people from the 3 universes to enter Xiang City. There were people, animals, and objects in Xiang City. He could not control the people for the time being. Controlling the animals and objects would also be considered controlling Xiang City. When he thought of this, he returned to the human civilization and began his selection. There would definitely be danger, and many creatures had died in Xiang City. However, the rewards that accompanied the danger were great. The cultivation world was filled with danger at all times, and as long as the rewards were plentiful, many people would be willing to take the risk. Luin handed this matter over to the sect above the heavens, and it didn't take long for them to arrange for 1,000,000 cultivators to choose from. Chapter 4368. Thus, the number of people had increased, with each universe sending out 10 million people. After gathering everyone, Luin brought them to the outskirts of Xiang City, and then, everyone entered. No matter what, they had to try. What did it mean to have 10 million people enter Xiang City? Xiang City was in an uproar. This was different from when Che had captured an entire civilization and thrown it into Xiang City. For example, the stone golem civilization had been completely unprepared at first, and even if they had activated the 1,000 Forms Nightfall, it had been a long time after they had entered Xiang City. By then, many of their creatures had already died. There was no way to command them. Moreover, it was said that an entire civilization had entered Xiang City. This was just a concept. It couldn't possibly be an entire civilization, or else Xiang City would have been filled to the brim long ago. At most, there would only be 1,000,000 creatures. Before entering the city, Luin had reminded everyone not to reveal themselves as long as their lives weren't in danger. He had to find the right opportunity. Most people weren't in danger at first, but even a small portion of people were in danger. Tens of millions of people were still a lot. For example, some people had turned into fish, but the unlucky ones had been caught by fishermen and were about to be cooked. Some people had turned into crickets and were fighting with other crickets. They couldn't win. Others had turned into firewood and were about to be burned. There were too many situations. Even if there were only a few tens of thousands of people, it was enough to cause Xiang City to boil over. Luin had turned into a bird and could see everything clearly. He didn't wait any longer. He sent out a signal. This signal had been agreed upon with everyone before they entered the city. Once the signal was sent out, everyone would move out. At the same time, this signal had also been agreed upon with the stone golem. Following that, a rare scene occurred in Xiang City, an uproar. Chickens, ducks, fish, and even tables and chairs were all on the move as if they had come to life and moved onto the streets. Everyone in Xiang City was stunned, and they all hid in their homes. But what was the point of hiding in their homes? Every house had an animal or object moving, and all of Xiang City seemed to be moving as well. The stone golem was stunned. When had it ever seen such a scene in Xiang City? What was the meaning of this? Were there that many civilized creatures? And they were too cooperative. No one dared to resist. When there were so many of them, resistance was meaningless. Looking at the dancing swords and blades, everyone became even more terrified. Lu Yin constantly changed the signal and commanded everyone to move. He controlled the two streets, and even those who tried to resist were suppressed. At this moment, he was the king of Xiang City. Everything else was up to him. However, he still didn't feel like he was in control of Xiang City. Lu Yin continued to soar through the skies, and those who had dared to shoot him before were now trembling in fear, not daring to move. The bird was king. As for the foreign creatures that had entered Xiang City before, they all began to move. They did not know what had happened, but they knew that such a big change was beneficial to them. The leaf that had been pierced by the bamboo hadn't managed to escape. At this moment, he was jumping excitedly on a chair. He saw more than one pair of slippers. There was actually a creature that had turned into slippers. Everyone was holed up in their homes, and Xiang City obeyed Lu Yin's orders. Lu Yin tried to give out orders, but it was useless. He didn't feel like he was in control of Xiang City at all. Did he really have to transform into a human? He was disappointed, and he could only command the creatures to head towards the city gate. Some of the creatures had already taken the opportunity to run towards the city gate, but it was useless. There were people guarding the gate. In the history of Xiang City, there had never been such a terrible incident. Xiang City had once belonged to the fifth stronghold, and the fifth stronghold had controlled it. Afterward, it had been controlled by Clear, who had tried all sorts of methods to gain control. He had even tried to use numbers to control the creatures, but it had not been as exaggerated. After all, the creatures that he had thrown in were not from his own civilization and would not listen to his orders. Even now, Lu Yin still did not know what Clear's true form was. Seeing that he could not control Xiang City this way, Lu Yin could only lead everyone away. Everyone in Xiang City hid in their homes and only came out slowly after all the creatures had left. They had just experienced a nightmare. Outside Xiang City, there was a huge crowd. Tens of millions of people were being led away from the city gate, and many of them were foreign creatures. They looked at the humans around them and did not dare to move. Chu Songyun, Dan Hong, and the others were standing guard outside. The auras of those below the immortal realm were suppressing them. Even further away were the heaven-carrying immortal and the startled lord. Even if an immortal realm appeared, it would be difficult. Lu Yin was the last to leave Xiang City. When he walked out of the city, there were tens of millions of humans on one side and only a few 100,000 on the other side. They were all different creatures, and most of them were from the stone golem civilization. At first glance, there were at least 100 of them. Clear had not been idle these past few years and had thrown in quite a number of them. A considerable number of them had either escaped or been dealt with by Clear. Only a small number of them had been left behind, like the stone golems, who had been stuck. The stone golems were immortal realms as well. They were not small and were the focus of attention. After all, they were immortal realms. However, the stone golems did not dare to be impudent, even if Lu Yin did not come out. The startled lord's aura was too fierce, and it was obvious that he was not someone to be trifled with. There was also the heaven-carrying immortal beside him. This human civilization was really powerful. Lu Yin looked at all the foreign creatures. I know there are immortal realms among you. Come out. It was impossible for Clear to capture just one immortal realm and try to control Xiang City. Most of the creatures were just trying, and he only had hope of controlling an immortal realm. But Lu Yin did not understand. If an immortal realm really controlled Xiang City, what would he do? Xiang City was known as the strongest defense. Would he be able to shake an immortal realm that controlled Xiang City? This question had been bothering Lu Yin since the moment he returned Xiang City. All the foreign creatures looked at each other. They did not know each other, so they kept their distance and were on guard. For so many years, they had been stuck in Xiang City and lived with another appearance. It was really sad. Now that they had escaped, their lives were controlled by this civilization. They were at a loss. Under Lu Yin's gaze, a figure walked out and attracted everyone's attention. The figure looked like seaweed and was only 1 meter tall. It seemed to be lying on the ground, but as it gradually walked out, the aura of an immortal realm shook the surroundings, causing the foreign creatures to tremble and quickly avoid it. Lu Yin looked at the figure, and his eyes flashed. Although it was an immortal realm, its aura was waning. It was obvious that it had been severely injured. Its combat strength might not even be as good as Chu Songyun's. "May I ask which stronghold you belong to?" The figure spoke in a hoarse voice. It was low and weak, but it made Lu Yin's eyes widen. "You know, ninth base." Alarm Gate Shangyu waved his hand, and the heaven-carrying immortality immediately led tens of millions of people away. Chu Songyun also pulled the foreign creatures away and let Lu Yin and Alarm Gate Shangyu talk about the environment of this immortal realm. The figure slowly raised its head, and a pair of blue eyes appeared under the black seaweed. It seemed to be sizing up Lu Yin and then looked at Alarm Gate Shangyu. Very good, very good. What's good?" Lu Yin asked. "There is hope for human civilization. You are not immortal, but you stand before immortality. This is very good." Lu Yin and Alarm Gate Shangyu looked at each other. Alarm Gate Shangyu did not mind as they were used to Lu Yin handling everything. Whether it was strength or responsibility, Lu Yin was qualified. And at this moment, listening to the seaweed, it seemed to be very friendly to human civilization. Lu Yin looked at it. "Your Excellency, you should say something that we can understand." "Of course, I am Yu Wu. I am Yu Che's master." Both Lu Yin and Alarm Gate Shangyu were shocked. "You are Che's master. To be able to enter and leave Xiang City freely, you either stole it from Che or he deliberately gave it to you. Regardless, you know Che. In that case, there is no need for me to hide my identity. This day will eventually come, and you have all been used by Che," Yu Wu said slowly, not surprising Lu Yin at all. Being used was within Lu Yin's expectations, or rather, it was within the expectations of the entire human civilization. Che had returned Xiang City because he felt guilty, but only he knew the truth. Perhaps it was as he said, but the possibility was very small. Lu Yin was more willing to believe that he was being used. Just as Che had tried many times to let the immortal realm take control of Xiang City, returning Xiang City to human civilization might also be one of his attempts. Lu Yin did not know how Che would take control of Xiang City if he really did. With the unknown, rules could not be broken, and human civilization was now extremely strong, so how could Che take control? Lu Yin looked at Yu Wu doubtfully. "Senior, please enlighten me." Yu Wu looked at Lu Yin. "Your Excellency, which stronghold do you belong to?" "Senior, please enlighten me first." Lu Yin would not trust Yu Wu just because he said a few words. Yu Wu lay down again. "Human civilization has 9 strongholds. Fortunately, I once saved a human prodigy from danger." As time passed, that human prodigy shone brightly and illuminated an era. He became the master of the 5th stronghold, and his name was Xiang Shui. Lu Yin looked serious. "The master of the 5th stronghold?" Xiang Shui. Xiang Shui was an honest and considerate person. His talent was extraordinary, but he was not arrogant. On account of my saving his life, he specially allowed me to enter the fifth stronghold. In that era, human civilization was unrivaled, and foreign creatures were proud to be able to enter the stronghold. That was an era where human civilization could communicate and converse with each other. When I entered the fifth stronghold, I also brought my disciple, Yu Che, with me. Yu Che. At this point, Yu Wu suddenly became agitated. That bastard betrayed me, the fifth stronghold, and Xiang Shui's kindness to us. He's a bastard. Lu Yin narrowed his eyes. Betrayal. Betrayal again. Yu Che had once said that he did not betray them, but his words could not be trusted. The unknown would always be the enemy of human civilization. Alarmed Shang Yu clenched her fists. She hated traitors. Yu Che and I are not humans, so calling us betrayers is a little too much. However, in Xiang Shui's eyes, Yu Che was no different from the other human prodigies. In that era, he was even known as Young Master Che of the Fifth Stronghold, and those human prodigies all accepted him. Yu Wu lay down in the starry sky and looked into the distance. I'm sorry, Xiang Shui. I'm sorry. I didn't teach my disciple well. I'm sorry, Lu Yin could not help but interrupt. Senior, please continue. Chapter 43-69. Yu Wu was silent for a while. His voice trembled as he said, for some reason, Ninth Base was besieged by various civilizations. I was duty-bound to fight for the fifth stronghold. But Yu Che betrayed us. He first severely injured me and then attacked the powerhouses of the fifth stronghold. I don't know the outcome of that battle, but when I regained consciousness, I saw Xiang Yu. Xiang City. Xiang City. I fell into the hands of that bastard. He wanted to take control of Xiang City. What a joke. Xiang City belongs to the fifth stronghold and belongs to human civilization. How could it be controlled by him? Even if I knew something, I wouldn't tell him. He deserves to die, he deserves to die. That's why I was thrown into Xiang City by him. He wanted me to try to take control of Xiang City before coming to snatch it from me. I couldn't leave, so I had no intention of leaving. As long as I'm around, that bastard will never be able to take control of Xiang City. Never. Lu Yin listened quietly as he exchanged glances with alarmed guard. Was this another traitor? If Red Hero was the biggest traitor in Ninth Base, then Yu Che, he was the traitor of the fifth stronghold. The human heart was unpredictable, but Yu Che was not human. It could only be said that humans stood too high during that era and neglected many problems, just like the heavenly sect of the past. Lu Yin recalled what Yu Che had said. He had said that he was not human and was not a traitor. He was not a human, so how could he be a traitor? It could only be said that humans were blind and trusted him. In that battle, he must have done many things. Otherwise, Xiang City would not have fallen into his hands. How strong is this Yu Che? Alarmed guard could not help asking. Yu Wu thought about it. I don't know now, but he was at the peak of attuning to the laws of the universe at that time. He was an existence that broke through to eternal life. Lu Yin frowned. Was he only attuning to the laws of the universe? Even if he was at the peak, he would not be able to play any decisive role. Even Red Hero was stronger than him. I know what you're thinking. Normally speaking, those who are at the peak of attuning to the laws of the universe are powerhouses in Ninth Base, but they are not at the peak. Even if he surpassed me, he was not enough to cause any fatal damage to the fifth stronghold. However, you've overlooked the fifth stronghold itself. The fifth stronghold is the birthplace of your human civilization's mental techniques. Mental techniques are extremely unique and can be infinitely strong or infinitely weak. The fifth stronghold cultivates mental techniques, and the world is born from the heart. Mental techniques can either be born as ants or ascend to the heavens. Mental techniques can make the impossible possible. When I brought Yuche to the fifth stronghold, Yuche basically grew up in the fifth stronghold. He also cultivated a mental technique, and because of his extraordinary talent, he managed to master the fifth stronghold's inherited mental technique back in that era. It's known as the non-phase heavenly skill, second only to the invincible technique. Yu said bitterly, only a few people in the fifth stronghold can master the non-phase heavenly art. But he managed to master it and even kept it a secret until he betrayed us before using it. Lu Yin's expression was solemn. Just how arrogant had the human civilization been back then? They had even allowed outsiders to cultivate their inherited powers. It was simply laughable in this era. In this day and age, not to mention letting foreign creatures cultivate the power of human civilization, even communication was rare. Human civilization needed to increase its strength, but Lu Yin still managed to kill several Eternal Realm experts, even if those Eternal Realm experts could help the human race. This was his caution. Compared to the time of the 9 bases, it was simply extreme. But it also showed how glorious the human civilization was during the Ninth Stronghold era. They did not care about foreign creatures at all. With the non-phase heavenly skill, Yuche wouldn't be weak even if he were to face an existence that conformed to 2 universal laws. Especially because of the uniqueness of his mental technique and his understanding of the fifth stronghold, I can't imagine how much damage he caused to the fifth stronghold. How's Xiang Shui doing? Can you tell me which stronghold he's in? How's the 9th stronghold? Yu Wu asked as he looked at Lu Yin and alarm gate Xiangyu eagerly. He really wanted to know. Lu Yin said in a low voice, Yuche betrayed the 5th stronghold for the sake of Xiang City. Yu Wu said, yes, Xiang City is known to be the strongest defensive treasure. And once it's used, it's enough to protect the entire 9th stronghold civilization. No one can resist such a temptation. I've recalled a lot of things over the years in Xiang City. Actually, I should have realized it a long time ago. That bastard mentioned several times that he wanted to enter Xiang City, but he was always rejected. Even though Xiang Shui trusted us, Xiang City is related to the inheritance of the entire human civilization. Even the human civilization itself doesn't have many people who can enter it, so it's normal that Yuche couldn't get in. Maybe he already had some ideas from then on. How many civilizations are attacking the 9th stronghold? Many, and some are strong, some are weak. The strongest civilization I know of is the Taiching civilization. They're a fishing civilization that wants to unlock all source boxes and reveal the true face of the core space. They're the main force that attacked the 5th stronghold, and there are many other civilizations that are cooperating with the Taiching civilization, including non-affiliated cultivators like Yuche. Yu Wu paused for a moment before saying, I don't know why it turned out that way. It was as if the 9th stronghold suddenly became the public enemy of the entire core space. No one could explain it to me, and the war came too suddenly. It was as if the entire universe was declining. When I came back to my senses and wanted to find Xiang Shui to clarify the situation, I was ambushed by that bastard Yuche. Now that I think about it, Yuche knew much more than I did. I was too stupid and didn't realize anything. It's all my fault. I've let down the 5th stronghold, let down Xiang Shui, and let down human civilization. Lu Yin was about to ask something else when a chill suddenly descended upon him. He looked around, but there was nothing. He opened his celestial eye and suddenly turned around. In the distance, someone was staring at him. It was Yuche. He did not activate his Raven immobilization, as this was his trump card. Although 8 colors knew about it, she might not tell everyone about it. Yu Wu smiled at Lu Yin and took a step forward. When he reappeared, he was already standing not too far away from Lu Yin, the gate of surprise, and Yu Wu. He faced Yu Wu and slowly bowed. Master, you're finally willing to show yourself. Yu Wu glared at Yu Wu and roared angrily, bastard. Yu Wu said with a smile, Master, you've misunderstood me. You betrayed me, Xiang Shui, and the fifth stronghold. You bastard. Yu Wu roared. Yu Wu was still smiling. He was as polite as he had been when he first met Lu Yin in the consciousness universe. How can I betray you if I didn't join you? Did Xiang Shui promise us to join the fifth stronghold? Did I ever have any status in human civilization? He then looked at Lu Yin. What do you think, Lu Yin? What do you think, Lu Yin? Lu Yin's expression was calm as he stared at Yu Wu coldly. This guy must have used him to gain control of Xiang City before seizing it back. Otherwise, why would he give Lu Yin the city that he had seized after betraying the fifth stronghold? But what would he do? If Lu Yin really gained control of Xiang City, how would he take it back? Lu Yin would never feel at ease if he did not figure this out. Even if he had the ability to gain control of Xiang City, he would still feel uneasy. Yu Wu was not stupid, so he must have prepared a backup plan. Especially since Xiang City had been in his hands for so many years. Yu Wu's body heaved, and his blue eyes turned white. You bastard! The fifth stronghold was the one who taught you, yet you attacked them and seized Xiang City. You'll die a horrible death. Yu Wu smiled. Humans have reached the pinnacle of glory. Even if I didn't make a move, someone else would have. Master, I attacked you back then because I didn't want you to die in that war. And as you can see, I've been walking the square inch as a human for so many years. That's because I've acknowledged the human identity. Unfortunately, Xiang Shui has never acknowledged me. Otherwise, why would they not let me enter Xiang City back then? He then looked at Lu Yin. Humans have become arrogant because of their prosperity, but they're also accepting because of their glory. That's not good. Lu Yin, you'll have to learn your lesson. The only unchanging rule of the square inch is that we cannot communicate with each other. However, the ninth stronghold has broken this rule, so it will be destroyed. I'm not the one who attacked the fifth stronghold, but the entire universe. It's the human civilization that's being attacked, so I can't stop it. Alarmed Shang Yu raised his startling cloud. Shameless. Yu Wu's startling cloud. Che was not angry. Instead, he smiled. The unknowns have protected your three universes for 1,000 years, but that's only if you don't take the initiative to attack others. Lu Yin, we're all unknowns, so don't hurt our friendship. I'll help you no matter what happens. The unknowns have acknowledged me, and they've also acknowledged you. Lu Yin raised his hand and suppressed the startling cloud, not allowing alarmed Shang Yu to attack. He could not attack Che, as alarmed Shang Yu would definitely die if he faced Che alone. Che's strength was unfathomable, and facing him would be like facing another Red Hero. They were already having a hard time dealing with Red Hero, let alone Che. Thank you. Che smiled. Lu Yin said calmly, is this what you meant by guilt? Che sighed with a gloomy expression. He placed a hand on his chest and slowly bowed to Lu Yin. Guilt does not equate to wrongdoing. What I did was not wrong, but I also missed the fifth stronghold. That's why I hope that you can take control of Xiang City and restore the fifth stronghold to its former glory. At this point, his expression changed, and he slowly looked at Yu Wu with a surprised expression. Master, are you seeking death? Lu Yin's expression changed, and he quickly looked at Yu Wu. His attention had been focused on Yu Che, so he did not notice that Yu Wu's aura had changed. It had become deep, hollow, and oppressive. Senior, what are you doing? Yu Wu looked at Lu Yin. Child, don't listen to his nonsense. He's using you to take control of Xiang City. His ultimate goal is to see through Xiang City and seize it. He's probably using the phaseless sky art. This mental technique can avoid all external cultivation and focus on the heart. It's a legendary mental technique in the fifth stronghold, and it's second only to an invincible technique. It's very difficult to crack this mental technique. All I know is to cultivate willpower and use it to become one with all living beings. That way, he won't be able to find your heart. Master, be careful with your words, Yu Che interrupted. Winds blew and clouds surged in the starry sky. A monstrous pressure covered the sky like dark clouds that caused the universe to shrink. Chapter 4370. Clear looked ahead. Master, why do you have to do this? I'll still be filial to you and repay you for raising and nurturing me. Die, you beast. The aura of life descended. Streaks of blue light followed the aura of life and turned into meteors that smashed towards Clear. Clear raised his hand and pointed with a finger. Chi sword technique. The blade cut through the aura of life and stopped the streaks of blue light. Yuwu closed in and turned into an afterimage. Clear easily dodged the attack. With just a finger, he stopped all of Yuwu's attacks. No matter how Yuwu attacked, it could not hurt him at all. Jingmin Shangyu clenched her startling cloud and wanted to attack. This is a grudge between me and this beast. Please don't interfere, Yuwu shouted and stopped Jingmin Shangyu. The Gate of Wonder was unwilling to give up, but she could sense Yuwu's determination to die. Ever since it had left Xiang City, it had already been weakened to the extreme, and now, it had only overdrawn its life force to recover to its peak. It wanted to fight Yu Che to the death, not only because it wanted to help Luyin force out Yu Che's strength, but it also wanted to help Luyin force out Yu Che's strength. Not only did he help Lu Che, but he also wanted to help Lu Che and explain himself to Xiang Shui. Only death could give him an explanation. I have instant transmission. I can take you away, Luyin said. As long as Yuwu said so, no one could stop him. Clear had appeared here to deal with Yuwu. But even so, Luyin was confident he could take him away. Yuwu praised, good. Good. Ha ha ha. Humans can actually teleport. Those strange birds are done for, ha 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 ha. Child, give me some face and let me personally apologize to Xiang Shui. With Xiang City in Clear's hands, the fate of the fifth stronghold could be imagined. Clear kept dodging. With a wave of his finger, he tore Yuwu's body apart. Master, why do you have to do this? Let's go. I'm willing to take care of you in your old age. Lu Yin is also willing. There's still human civilization there. I'm sure they'll be very willing to listen to your stories. Yuwu roared, Beast, even if I die, I'll make you explain yourself to the humans. With that, his entire body collapsed. The void kept exploding, and a mysterious feeling instantly filled the surroundings. At this moment, Luyin felt like he could see Yuwu's heart. He was being led by it. He saw the past. Was this a mental technique? Although he had never come into contact with it, he could imagine it. Jingmin Shangyu's expression changed as well. The mind technique actually allowed her to see into a creature's heart. Yuwu's heart was filled with the desire to die, but he also yearned for the past. Luyin felt as if he could see the glorious fifth stronghold. He saw a gentle gentleman drinking tea with it and laughing heartily. He saw many geniuses soaring into the sky, including Clear. Its heart ached. It ached for the defeat of the fifth stronghold, and it ached for Che's betrayal. Yu Che was surprised. Master, I thought you didn't learn any mental skills. Yuwu's body continued to crack open as blood seeped out. In the blink of an eye, drops of blood flowed out in all directions, replacing the starry sky, the heart's heart, and the universe of the heart. Traceless heart blood. Master, you've really given me a pleasant surprise. Do you want to perish together with this disciple? Or... As he spoke up to hear, his gaze suddenly became extremely gloomy and cold. Do you want to experience the non-phase heaven art? Bastard, having the non-phase sky art in your hands is the greatest insult to the fifth stronghold. Go to hell. Yu Wu roared. Drop after drop of his heart's blood flew towards Yu Che. Every drop contained Yu Wu's determination to die. Heaven carrying Eternal was horrified as it watched the drop of blood fly past it. It had a feeling that if it was touched, it would melt. It was too terrifying. What kind of battle technique was this? A drop of blood was already so terrifying. At this moment, Yu Che was surrounded by all of Yu Wu's heart's blood. It was as if the heart's blood had transformed into a universe that completely enveloped him. Clear sighed deeply. Why do you have to do this? Then, he crossed his hands in front of his chest. Mental techniques have an absolute distinction. There is no confrontation, only substitution. Master, have you forgotten? As Clear's palms moved, a circular ripple spread out, and the blood that came into contact with it gradually turned green. Lu Yin, Jingmen Xiangyu, and the others watched in shock. Yu Wu's mental technique had been replaced. Yu Wu retreated step by step and kept spitting out blood. His eyes were burning white as he said to Lu Yin, "Child, this is a mental technique. The non-phase sky art is an extremely powerful mental technique. No matter what day it is, don't think of using it to win. Not only will it be useless, but it will also be replaced by his strength. Unless you've mastered the fifth stronghold's inherited mental technique, the undivided heart affinity technique, don't ever compete with this beast in terms of mental techniques. The undivided heart affinity technique is the fifth stronghold's most powerful mental technique. It is known as one of the 9 invincible techniques, and it is located in Xiang City. This beast has been searching for it for so many years, but he still can't find it. Xiang Shui once said, "Be at ease with one's heart." Remember, be at ease with one's heart. Lu Yin watched as Yu Wu's body continued to shatter. As more and more of his heart's blood was replaced, his aura grew weaker. He was being forced to his death. Clear slowly closed his eyes. Since Master is determined to die, I can only send you off. Perhaps one day, when the river of time reverses, we will meet again. Then, the ripple spread out and was about to replace all of his heart's blood. In an instant, Lu Yin appeared beside Yu Wu. Yu Che's mental technique suddenly stopped, and he looked at Lu Yin calmly. "You, don't send me off." Lu Yin raised a hand and supported Yu Wu as they teleported away. Yu Che did not stop them and watched as Lu Yin left with Yu Wu. His lips curled up. "All right." He then glanced at startled Xiangyu and the rest before leaving under the horrified gazes of Heaven-bearer, Immortality, and the stone golem. Startled Xiangyu suppressed his urge to attack, as she would definitely die if he did. She might not even be able to withstand Yu Wu's heart's blood, let alone Clear's formless sky art. Even though Yu Wu had already declined to the extreme. A mental technique. The fifth stronghold's inheritances were truly powerful. On the other side, Lu Yin teleported back to the Tian Yuan universe with Yu Wu and brought him to Heaven's sect. The 9 walls have been defeated, but our human civilization has not been destroyed. Currently, we know of the second stronghold's path of ruthlessness, the fourth stronghold's longevity civilization, and the inheritances that were once used as bait. The 3 human universes are respectively formed by the Tian Yuan universe, the 9th firmament universe, and the spiritualized universe. Lu Yin brought Yu Wu to Heaven's sect and looked out at the stars. He watched as cultivators entered and exited one by one as he slowly explained the current situation of human civilization. Although it could not compare to the 9 walls, it was definitely qualified to stand at the core space. Yu Wu had asked him twice, but Lu Yin had not answered him. Now, he was telling him everything before his death. Yu could not live on any longer. His heart's blood was gone, and his body had also collapsed due to the forced battle with Yu. The only thing Lu Yin could do was not to let him die with regrets. Although human civilization had been defeated, it did not mean that they would not return to their peak one day. The one who caused the collapse of the 9 walls was not clear. He is not that powerful. Senior, you don't have to blame yourself. Senior Xiang Shui will not blame you either, Lu Yin said. Yu was gratified. That's good. Although I'm not human, I've witnessed the most glorious side of humanity and received many gifts from their civilization. Now that I'm about to die, I wish that the heavenly Tao's reincarnation would allow me to enter human civilization, even if I'm just an ordinary person. Lu Yin looked at him and did not say anything. Child, did you see the formless sky art clearly? Yes. Unless you find the heart's affinity technique, if that beast uses the formless sky art, use your willpower to resist it. Of course, you have to have cultivated willpower. Otherwise, don't fight it head-on. The power of the 5th stronghold is special in the entire 9 walls. At this point, he coughed violently as his body shrank. His voice was intermittent as he muttered to himself, I wish I could see Xiang Shui again. I wish I could see the 5th stronghold from that time. If only time could flow back to that time. That would be the happiest time of my life. You saw me as your friend, but I saw you as my master. Just like the divine chariot following Pan, I wish I could return to that time. The voice disappeared, and Yu was completely dead. Lu Yin stood in front of him and bowed slowly. Senior, rest in peace. The above the heavens sounded the death knell. Although they had only met for a short time, Yu had done everything he could. He had told Lu Yin some of the past events from that time period and allowed him to see Yu's formless sky art. He had also learned about the heart's affinity technique in Xiang City. The heart's affinity technique. The true inheritance of the 5th stronghold's heart technique was in Xiang City. He did not know how to find it. Had Yu found it after all these years? Yu was sure that he had not, but Lu Yin felt uneasy. Yu was unfathomable. Many people sought after the glory of their predecessors and believed in their wisdom. However, one could not underestimate the achievements of the current generation. Lu Yin was confident that if he went back to the 9th stronghold era, he would be the strongest among his peers. Then, what about Yu? How far could he go? After burying Yu, Lu Yin teleported out of Xiang City and brought back Startlegate and the others. Yu had already left. As for the stone golem, Lu Yin brought it back to Xiang City. He needed to have someone on his side in Xiang City. Soon after, Lu Yin told Qinglian Shangyu, Mr. Mu, and the others what had happened. They sighed with emotion when they heard the story. Even though Yu was not human, he was respected by them. After that, Lu Yin went to Xiang City more frequently. The foreign creatures that had been trapped inside had all come out. Xiang City was very lively now. Stools, candles, and even trees were being burned everywhere. It was as though those things could move. There was also a craze in Xiang City to recreate all sorts of things. Lu Yin transformed into a bird and sat on a tree, occasionally changing his position to observe the situation. Was he free? What was the meaning of this? The chaos in Xiang City lasted for a long time, and it only calmed down after 10 years. However, during these 10 years, Lu Yin had entered Xiang City many times, but he had not been able to find a way to control the city. He still needed to reach a certain state of mind, and he still needed to transform into a human. Far away from the 3 universes, Lu Yin released Miaozun. It had been more than 100 years since the boss had captured Miaozun. Although it had not been long, it was enough time for him to be interrogated. Miaozun was a huge, strange, triangular insect. It was impossible to tell what it had looked like before, but it had been beaten up quite badly by the boss. Now, it was lying in outer space, half dead. As soon as it was released, it did not hesitate to escape and even used an invisible world to attack indiscriminately. However, Liu Yin's sword pierced through its body, and it became obedient. As it looked at Liu Yin, memories from the past flooded its mind. Was it this creature? Chapter 43-71. You should know about my civilization, right? Liu Yin spoke slowly as he stared at Miao Zun. At that moment, Miao Zun was surrounded by dozens of triple firmament sword intents. He moved randomly and was torn apart. Miao Zun felt the piercing sharpness as he stared at Liu Yin. No. Liu Yin sneered. That's not what the originator and Red Hero said. They told me that your favorite food is humans. Miao Zun's aura fluctuated. No, I haven't eaten any humans. Is that why you captured me? That's right. I really haven't. I haven't eaten any. Who's the originator? Who's Red Hero? You don't know the originator and Red Hero. They're the unknowns. Miao Zun thought about it. Unknowns. They're the unknowns. Yes, they told me about you. I'm sorry, but you can't join the unknowns. Plus, you'll die. Liu Yin's tone was cold. The dozens of triple firmament sword intents got closer to Miao Zun, making him feel despair as if he would be torn apart at any moment. Miao Zun hurriedly said, "They lied to you. They don't want me to join the unknowns, so they lied to you. I haven't eaten any humans. I remember now. Back then, we fought against the unknown. I fought 2 of them. One of them was a civilization like you. Is it him? Is he the originator or Red Hero?" Liu Yin clasped his hands behind his back. Stop pretending. What's the point of fighting if you don't even know who the enemy is? You won't be able to escape death no matter how much you pretend. You can't kill me. If I join the unknowns, you'll be hunted down by them. Those 2 unknowns told me this. That means they don't want you to join, so you can't join. They're using you. Miao Zun screamed. Do you have a grudge against them? They're using you to kill me, and then they'll let the unknowns attack you. That must be it. Don't be used by them. Liu Yin was amused. This guy's brain worked really fast. He said whatever he thought of, regardless of how big the possibility was. Miao Zun guessed that Miao Zun would say the same thing if Red Hero was standing here. But this was what Liu Yin needed. You said that they're using me, and that's possible. Then tell me what abilities they have and see if they're the same as the ones you've seen before. At this moment, Miao Zun could only grab onto this life-saving straw. The triple blue sword had already pierced into his body and could tear him apart at any time. The creature in front of him was not in the eternal life realm yet, so he did not have to worry about being bound by karma. He could really kill him at any time. How could there be such a strong scoundrel? War with the unknowns. I've fought against 2 unknowns. One is a creature that looks like you. He specialized in sourcebox arrays, and I didn't even come into contact with him when I fought him. I was trapped by his sourcebox array for a long time, and I couldn't escape even after the battle ended. There's another one that uses pure unfathomable godly power to attack. Its godly power is the most boundless out of all the unfathomable beings I've ever seen. It's simply ridiculous. I can only run when facing it. Right, the world it can't see is a dining table. Liu Yin frowned. Did you just say a sourcebox array? The latter was obviously Big Harry, while the former was definitely Red Hero. However, Red Hero had actually used a sourcebox array to trap Miao Zun. Miao Zun's power was much weaker than Red Hero's, and Red Hero could easily kill him. However, she might have been wary of being bound by karma, which was why she had not acted. But if a sourcebox array could trap Miaozun, then how powerful was that array? However, Red Hero was indeed skilled in sourcebox arrays. The sourcebox array that 100-Fist Mountain had set up could already be seen, but that array's main function was to shield, not to trap. Miaozun was an expert who could rival Lan Meng, but it had been able to trap an eternal life realm cultivator like him until the end of the battle. One could only imagine how powerful that sourcebox array was. Lu Yin realized that he had always overlooked this point. Red Hero was skilled in sourcebox arrays. Miaozun recalled that battle and slowly recounted it, not missing any details. It was not that he had a good memory, but that battle had left a deep impression on him. He had been trapped by a sourcebox array for so long and had not been able to escape until the end of the battle. He had been like a little bug, and he did not want to experience such an experience again. It was also because of that battle that he was willing to join the unknowns. The unknowns were too powerful. Both of the unknowns that he had fought had been able to deal with him. But why had those two stopped him from joining? Or was it just as he had guessed? Were they trying to use him to deal with this creature? He knew that he had fallen into someone else's trap, and he needed to survive. Lu Yin listened for a long time, but only one sourcebox array had trapped Miaozun. Miaozun had only seen Red Hero from start to finish, but he had never actually fought with her. Just a sourcebox array had been able to trap him, which was a little scary. This meant that Miaozun could not see through this sourcebox array, which also meant that Red Hero might have even more powerful sourcebox arrays. Lu Yin sighed. What about the other one? Does it have more godly power? Lu Yin asked. Demao belonged to the unknowns, and he was also an enemy. Miaozun said, this one has a ridiculous amount of godly power. It has the most godly power out of all the unknowns that I've ever seen. You've only seen 2 unknowns. I fought against 2 unknowns, but in that battle, I saw the strongest person on our side fight against an unknowns. That was a battle between absolute powerhouses, and I couldn't see it clearly. Even that unknowns didn't have this much godly power. Lu Yin frowned. That much? It seemed like Demao had a certain level of confidence in calling out Red Hero. Otherwise, why would an unknowns that was compatible with the laws of the universe be so arrogant? That's right, this creature has 2 invisible worlds, Miaozun said. Lu Yin was shocked. 2? Yes, 2. There are creatures that have 2 invisible worlds. This was beyond Lu Yin's knowledge. Invisible worlds were created based on the laws of the universe, so it was normal to not have one. But why would there be 2? Either they were compatible with 2 universal laws, but Lu Yin had communicated with Qinglian Shangyu before. If they were compatible with 2 universal laws, then they would try their best to merge into an invisible world. This was because most of the time, numbers were meaningless. Exchanging an extremely powerful invisible world for 2 ordinary invisible worlds was a choice that everyone knew how to make. Miaozun said, this is my first time seeing it as well. Other than these, is there anything else? Lu Yin asked. Miaozun said, that battle was very intense. I always feel like there's something important, but I can't remember it. I've been asleep for too long, but don't worry, I'll definitely remember it when I see them. Lu Yin smiled and pointed at the general appointment platform, which was Hell's prison. Miaozun was thrown in, and Lu Yin's voice sounded. Don't worry, you're an unknowns. You're very useful, and I don't want you to die. Miaozun slammed into the general appointment platform with a fierce look. He didn't expect such a creature to capture him. Just you wait, once I recover, I'll eat you up inch by inch and make you suffer. After a while, the increase in the karma heavenly path ended. Lu Yin was sure that the range of his karma heavenly path had exceeded the karma celestial phenomenon, but it was only the karma's celestial phenomenon that Qinglian Shangyu released all year round. It wasn't the limit of the karma's celestial phenomenon. The mud blade's attack range could affect an unknowns for decades. Even if Qinglian Shangyu wasn't as powerful as Red Hero, he was definitely not weaker than the mud blade. The karma's celestial phenomenon's range was very exaggerated. His current range was just Qinglian Shangyu releasing it all year round to adapt to his battle with Red Hero. This was also the human civilization's attitude towards the square inch. They didn't communicate, didn't zhongyang, and avoided it as much as possible. Whoosh! Whoosh! The triple firmament sword intent pierced through, and Miao Zun died. He didn't expect Lu Yin to kill him. How could this be? Didn't he say that he didn't want him to die? He was an unknowns, so he should be valuable to him. Why? Why did he want to kill him? The sky overflowed with fatality, and another unknowns died. Lu Yin's gaze was cold. Just because he didn't want you to die, it didn't mean that you didn't have to die. He also wanted to use the square inches unknowns for himself, but it was impossible. Some unknowns could use it, while others couldn't. After dealing with Miao Zun, Lu Yin teleported to the Red Shirt civilization and arrived in front of the Blood Tower. Senior, what ability does Red Hero have with sourcebox arrays? Jiuwen asked, why do you ask? Lu Yin told him about how Miao Zun had been trapped, and Jiuwen was shocked. He was actually hiding something like that. Senior, you don't know. The sourcebox array at 100 Fist Mountain isn't bad. That sourcebox array wasn't set up by him. Jiuwen paused, and his expression changed as he met Lu Yin's gaze. I've been tricked. Lu Yin sighed, as he finally understood. From the very beginning, Red Hero had never intended to reveal his knowledge of sourcebox arrays to the Red Shirt civilization. Jiuwen knew about the sourcebox array at 100 Fist Mountain, but he had never thought that it had been set up by Red Hero. Red Hero said that the sourcebox array came from a foreign civilization, and it can only be permanently fixed in one location. That's why the 100 Fist Mountain was created. It's not like there was a sourcebox array after the 100 Fist Mountain. You've seen the situation at 100 Fist Mountain. It's not a place that's suitable for cultivation, and it's also not a place with great scenery. Why did they lock Rangyu up there? It's because there's a sourcebox array there. I've always thought that was the case. Now that you're saying this, he must have been lying to me from the very beginning. That's why I've neglected the sourcebox array for so many years. Lu Yin asked, did he mention which foreign civilization the sourcebox array came from? Jiuwen shook his head. No. Lu Yin's first thought was of the Taiqing sect, the civilization that Senior Yowu had mentioned that had attacked the fifth stronghold. It seemed like only such a civilization could have such high attainments in the field of sourcebox arrays. Speaking of which, he had wondered if there would be a fishing civilization that specialized in sourcebox arrays in the square kilometer zone. He did not expect there to actually be one. This was the square kilometer zone, where anything was possible. A technological fishing civilization and a sourcebox array fishing civilization had both exceeded his expectations. But how did Red Hero get involved with the Taiqing sect? The Taiqing sect had attacked the fifth stronghold, while Red Hero had attacked the second stronghold. Although it seemed like they belonged to the ninth stronghold, they were actually very far from each other, and the ninth stronghold was not connected. It was just like how mortals knew the difference between countries. The people of one country might not understand another country, and they might not even know where they lived. Lu Yin could not figure it out, so he left. Chapter 43-72. Jiuwen was still afraid. If Red Hero had not used the Blood Tower to bind him, and he had joined forces with Qing Lian to fight, the outcome might not have been as they had expected. Red Hero had hidden too well. 20 years passed in the blink of an eye. One day, Eight Color's voice was heard, Jade. The one-line sky is gone. The mission to capture Jade is cancelled. Cancelled? What about the Jade universe? They're spreading rumors about me everywhere. Haha, that's not right. There's no other way. We can't find the Jade universe once the one-line sky disappears. The Jade universe is too cunning. Even if we go through the one-line sky, we won't see the Jade universe. Could it be related to the 7 treasures heavenly toad? What we see through the one-line sky is not the Jade universe. What the 7 treasures heavenly toad sees might not be the Jade universe. This is my mission. It's not fair to cancel it just like that. Am I right, 8 Color? 8 Color said, your mission is not cancelled. But if we don't capture Jade, we won't find the Jade universe. How can we destroy it? Ha! Ha, old man. How can you still laugh? Luin asked. He came in because his mission was to capture Jade. Now that the mission was cancelled, he had to know. The old man said, young man, be optimistic. There's no other way. We can open another path. He then raised his voice, White. Help me. Lu Yin's gaze turned cold. White. Unknown doors all originated from White. White was very mysterious. Help me find the Jade universe. We can talk about the price. The old man said. Lu Yin was puzzled. Why does this old man want to destroy the Jade universe? Sure. An unfamiliar voice appeared. Lu Yin had never heard it before. Is this White's voice? He immediately greeted, White, how are you? White did not respond. Lu Yin called a few more times, but White did not respond. Lu Yin had no choice but to leave the unknown door. It seemed that the war with the Jade universe would definitely break out. But if White had the ability to find the Jade universe, why did it have to capture Jade? The one-line sky disappeared and 8 Color cancelled the mission. Could it be that it could not command White? No, it could also be that White had another mission. When it had a mission, it could not assign other missions, unless it was a war. Lu Yin actually hoped that it was the latter. Otherwise, it would be too unsettling to know that there were existences that surpassed the 8 colors. That transparent balance is already unsettling. After leaving the whereabouts, Lu Yin rested for a while before heading to the Sparrow Arena. He found Jingmin Shangyu. There are still 10 years before the meteor realm reappears. Senior, do you want to enter the immortal civilization again? Lu Yin asked. 800 years had passed since his last visit to the longevity civilization. Time had passed too quickly. These 800 years felt much shorter than the 100 years he had spent cultivating in the Tianyuan cosmos. Jingmin Shangyu had a complicated look in his eyes. Were they about to arrive again? Lu Yin was certain that the longevity civilization was the 4th stronghold Celestial Eye tribe. Now that the meteor realm had reappeared, he had to find Changhu and explain everything clearly. Even if they were unwilling to be involved with this human civilization, they had to at least let him know what had happened during the Battle of 9 Bases and who the enemy was. Each of the 9 bases was equivalent to a fishing civilization. This was not a joke. Currently, it was known that the Unknowns, Immortal Plume, the Death Universe, and the Grand Clear Civilization had participated in the Battle of 9 Bases. There were also many other rogue cultivators like Yuche. But those were just a few fishing civilizations. How could they besiege the 9th base? He had heard the term besiege many times before, which meant that there were definitely more enemy civilizations than the 9th base. Those weak civilizations were not even worthy of besieging the 9th base. Lu Yin guessed that there had to be at least 9 fishing civilizations that had participated in besieging the 9th base. Otherwise, how could the 9th base have been defeated? The war god disk alone had been able to defend one side, but it had still not been able to withstand the assault. It could be imagined that there were many more enemy civilizations than the ninth base. Although almost all civilizations within the square meter could be considered enemies, there was still a difference in order. Compared to the technological fishing civilization, Luin would rather destroy Immortal Plume first. Compared to the Mudwater Kingdom, he would rather destroy the unknowns first. Jingmin Shangyu pondered for a moment. I don't know either. She wanted to see how Chang Tian was doing. That small piece of longevity vine had caused Chang Tian to be punished, and this matter had always been remembered in her heart. Furthermore, Qingyun also wanted to see her biological father. You want the longevity civilization to ally with us? Jingmin Shangyu asked Luin. Luin shook his head. I just want to ask a few questions. Whether or not we ally with them depends on themselves. They have the freedom to make their own choices. Jingmin Shangyu nodded and did not say anything else. Luin left. Regardless of whether Jingmin Shangyu went or not, he was going anyway. Compared to the last time, he understood much more about the ninth base, and he could also converse with Chang Hui. 10 years passed very quickly, and the meteor realm reappeared. Luin once again appeared at the startled Sparrow Terrace. Not only did he bring Jingmin Shangyu with him, but he also brought Qingyun with him. Qingyun held the longevity vine in her hand. She had no memories of her father, but she felt warmth. It was not that her father did not want her. Let's go, Luin said. Jingmin Shangyu grabbed Qingyun's hand and headed towards the meteor realm. Luin followed behind them. At that moment, a cold light descended from the sky, and a suffocating sharpness suddenly appeared. It extended from one direction to another, and in this direction, Luin, Jingmin Shangyu, and Qingyun were all present. The moment Luin sensed the sharpness, he subconsciously grabbed Jingmin Shangyu and teleported away, but the sharpness was unbelievably fast. It was as if the moment he saw it, it was already too late. Luin teleported away and looked to his side. There was no Jingmin Shangyu, only a small section of her arm dripping with blood. It belonged to Jingmin Shangyu's arm. In the distance, the meteor realm split into two. Then, even further away, Luin could see that the spiritualized universe had also split into two. It even extended to the consciousness universe, cutting off a third of it. A ray of sharpness filled the heavens, and nothing seemed to be able to stop it. It surpassed the limits of what the mirroring technique could see, and it continued to extend into the distance. It was just a ray of sharpness. The meteor realm scattered and completely disappeared. At this moment, Luin was speechless. At this moment, the entire human civilization was speechless. Qinglian Shangyu and the others silently looked at the heavens, as if time had frozen. Luin teleported back to Jingmin Shangyu's side. Qingyun supported Jingmin Shangyu, her face pale. Jingmin Shangyu's arm had been cut off, and the sharpness had damaged half of her body. She coughed up blood. Senior. Luin immediately brought her back to Ninafirmament's universe and appeared in Yihai. Qinglian Shangyu placed a hand on Jingmin Shangyu's shoulder to block the sharpness for her. Luin stared blankly at this scene, and his hands and feet went cold. What he had felt at that moment still made his scalp go numb. The entire universe had been sliced apart like a thin piece of paper. Regardless of whether it was within or within the universe, everything was the same. Even Jingmin Shangyu had been severely injured. There was no way for him to even dodge, let alone block it. He had also almost been unable to escape with his teleportation. From beginning to end, he had not even seen the enemy's appearance. He did not even know where the enemy's attack had started. At this moment, Luin felt a deep sense of helplessness. It was like when he had first stepped into the cultivation world and faced the Night King clan. It was like when the Grand Empyrean had brought him to see the Eternals clearly. It was like when he had failed to save Patriarch Shan. That helplessness, despair, and coldness filled his heart. Everyone was silent. Qinglian Shangyu silently healed Jingmen Shangyu, but this injury was not so easy to heal. It was not something that time could erase. There was some kind of power involved. Qin Yun stood to the side, clenching her longevity vine tightly. Lu Yin did not speak. At this moment, he had nothing to say. The meteor realm was gone, and the longevity civilization could not be found. Was this the purpose of that existence? It had only been one move. One move had completely torn apart the sense of security of the three universes. It had completely defeated the self-preservation power that humanity thought they had. If this move had been just a little bit off, Jingmen Shangyu would have died. It was not that the other party could not kill him, but that it did not want to. Looking at the blood on the ground was telling everyone a fact. As long as it was willing, the human civilization would not be able to withstand a single move. Lu Yin took a deep breath and teleported away. He arrived in the starry sky and lay down in the hanging coffin. 8 colors. I'm here. A creature cut off the universe of our human civilization and seriously injured Jingmen Shangyu. You said that I participated in the forced conscription and that the human civilization would be protected for 1,000 years. What do you say about this? Lu Yin asked in a low voice. 8 colors said, the promise of protection is not omnipotent. I can only promise you that I will investigate this matter. If there is no result in the end, I will compensate you. The existence that attacked should be invisible. Do you have evidence? Of course, Lu Yin had no evidence. He did not even know where that move had come from. But other than the mysterious master of balance who was very likely to be hidden in the three universes, he could not think of anyone else. He joined the unknowns to protect the three universes and to understand and finally get rid of this old enemy. Lu Yin had never thought of truly relying on the unknowns. But at this moment, he actually placed his hopes on his old enemy. He himself found it ridiculous. That sense of powerlessness deeply surrounded him. He did not know who to talk to or who could help him. He longed for something from the unknowns, even if it was information about the enemy. But 8 colors' answer was cold and merciless. Should he be disappointed? It was ridiculous. In this dark and deep universe, it was the biggest joke to place one's hopes on someone else, not to mention an old enemy. It could only be said that that ray of light had cut off everything that Lu Yin thought he had done so far. It was as if everything he had done was meaningless. He left Jingmen Shangyu and returned to the back mountain of the above heaven sect. He silently looked at the starry sky. Mr. Mu came and quietly accompanied him without speaking. Long she poured tea for the two and silently retreated. Master, I haven't done enough. Far from enough, Lu Yin murmured. Mr. Mu took a sip of tea. You're lost. Lu Yin's gaze was complicated. Yes, he was lost. It was not fear or cowardice, but truly lost. He was more lost than ever. In the past, when he had faced the oppression of powerful enemies, even when he had seen the truth about the Eternals, he had not felt this way. He had been depressed, but he had quickly cheered up. No matter how desperate he was, there would always be someone who would go with him. But this time, he was lost because his upper limit had been locked. Chapter 43-73. That ray of light was not for killing, but to lock the upper limit of the current human civilization. It seemed to be telling Lu Yin that it was enough. Don't increase your strength, don't join forces with other human civilizations. If they dared to do so, what awaited them was this ray of light, an unparalleled ray of light. This was the reason why Lu Yin was at a loss. He was not afraid that the enemy was strong enough, but such a strong enemy had locked their upper limit, how to break through. The immortal civilization was the fourth barrier, but they could not come into contact with it. Perhaps from the beginning, they could not really merge with the red coats under the stars, even without Red Hero. What should he do to break through this situation? To break through this situation, what was needed was not wisdom, but absolute strength. This was the simplest but also the most complicated situation. Human civilization had never been so silent. No matter what kind of situation they encountered, they were always discussing and thinking of ways to break through one obstacle after another. However, this obstacle was really difficult to pass. They were like young children, the person in front of them was a powerful adult. The road ahead was blocked, how could they talk about vitality? Perhaps from the beginning, they had been kept in captivity, but they did not know it. This ray of light allowed everyone to see this fact. The enemy was strong, but not scary. The scary thing was that they could not become stronger. This was true despair. Mr. Mu put down his teacup and looked at Lu Yin with a smile. Little Seven, you have never needed anyone to comfort you. Some people live longer than you, but they may not have suffered as much as you. Some people live harder than you, but they may not have as much responsibility as you. What you have experienced the most is not the battles, not the life and death situations, but the torture of yourself. A frog at the bottom of a well is actually very happy. As long as you can't see the sky outside, the world is that well. If you can see the sky outside, you will have more pursuits and more dangers. But you climb out of the well again and again. Before you have the ability, you have to bear the fate of everyone. You are stronger than anyone else. What I want to say is actually just one sentence. Mr. Mu looked at Lu Yin with a serious expression. Everyone believes in you. After saying that, he left. Lu Yin was silent for a moment, then he could not help but laugh. Was he a frog? Well, it sounded better than a toad. But, sometimes, he really needed to be comforted, or at least say a few nice words. How could he say that his disciple was a frog at the bottom of a well? Long she smiled faintly as she poured tea for Lu Yin. Laugh if you want to. Lu Yin was speechless. Long she took away Mr. Mu's teacup and looked at Lu Yin with a smile. Even if it is a frog, it is the most domineering frog I have ever seen. Lu Yin blinked. Wasn't this still a frog? In the distance of an inch, far away, the immortal plume tree let out a mournful cry, causing countless creatures below the tree to cry out as well. Blood dripped down from the tree crown, burning the void. The blood came from Yulu. Yulu fell onto the treetop. Her slender and charming eyes were now filled with anger. Her pink dress was stained with blood, her body was torn apart, and half of her wings were broken. She looked extremely miserable. Yulu reared her head back and cried out once more. She teleported away, and when she reappeared, she was already on the other side of the treetop. In front of her was an egg, but in reality, it was the dream of 1,000 autumns, the place where the immortal feather slumbered to dissolve the restraints of karma. Following Yulu's mournful cry, cracks appeared on the egg and gradually spread. Finally, an immortal plume walked out of it. This immortal plume was obviously much older than Yulu. Its 2 white eyebrows drooped down from its eyes to its feet. Its eyes were turbid, and it looked drowsy. On its head, a cluster of colorful spiritual hair fluttered in the wind, rippling with a faint light. Little Yulu, what's wrong? Patriarch South Spirit, Yulu is injured. Oh. This is. Humph, how dare you bully the weak? That's too much. How did you provoke him? Yulu just wants revenge. When Yulu woke up, she accidentally saw a civilization with several eternal lives. She wanted to capture a few and offer them to the patriarch, but one of the rascals actually knew our teleportation. Although there was a range limit, Yulu did not succeed in teleporting. What? It knows our race's teleportation. What creature? Human civilization, Yu Lu said. Yu Lu said. When she first entered the karmic celestial phenomenon, she did not remember. She only felt that it was familiar. Later on, she remembered that it was the human civilization, the terrifying civilization that made her immortal plume revere. This was also the reason why she went to the 3 universes recently. She planned to wait for the other immortal plume to wake up, but when she remembered that it was the human civilization, she was curious. In her heart, the immortal plume was the strongest. That human civilization actually made the immortal plume revere it. Why? Who knew that as soon as she arrived at the human civilization, her wings would be cut off, and the one who did it was unknown? She could not tolerate it. Absolutely not. South Spirit was shocked. Human civilization. You mean a human can teleport? Yes, Patriarch South Spirit. Little Yu Lu, do you know the consequences of lying to the Patriarch? Yu Lu knows. If I lie to the Patriarch, I will die a horrible death. Humph, that's a problem. The 9th base has been destroyed. Now, the remaining humans can actually master teleportation, and there's an unknown by their side. They bullied the weak and cut off one of your wings. When have I, the immortal plume, ever suffered such humiliation? No matter what the reason is, let's fight. Yu Lu was excited. She could finally take revenge. She looked up to the sky and screamed, full of excitement. The South Spirit Patriarch also looked up to the sky and screamed. The next moment, on the tree crown, eggs cracked open one by one. Under the tree, countless creatures were shocked. For so many years, the immortal plume had always awakened one by one. At most, 2 would awaken at once. Now, so many had awakened at once. Was the sky falling? Lu Yin had come. He was called over by Master Greengrass and was being forcibly recruited to participate in the war. Lu Yin, the unknown, is being forcibly recruited to participate in the war. May I ask if you want to participate? 8 Color asked. Lu Yin was dissatisfied. The frequency of being forcibly recruited is too high. I don't want to die. May I ask if you want to participate? 8 Color repeated. Lu Yin said, my human civilization has just been attacked. I don't want to participate. The unknown cannot protect us. Please confirm. Do you refuse to participate? Lu Yin's eyes flashed. He actually wanted to test 8 Color. He guessed that the target of this war would be either the Jade Universe or the Immortal Plume. The old man from the Jade Universe was very active. He even asked Bai Sei to help him search for the unknown. As for the Immortal Plume, he left a door that might lead to a war. Whether it was the Jade Universe or the Immortal Plume, he wanted to participate in the war. The Jade Universe was related to the 7 Treasures Heavenly Toad clan. He wondered how Boss and the others were doing. Regardless, they had helped him a lot. As for the Immortal Plume, he wanted to participate in the war and use the unknown to get rid of a few of them. It would be best if he could kill Yu Lu so that the human civilization would feel more at ease. However, 8 Color did not seem to care at all. He could not test it. Lu Yin, please confirm. Do you refuse to participate? 8 Color asked again. Lu Yin said, if the target is the Immortal Plume, I can participate. 8 Color, you added me for the same purpose. You want to deal with the Immortal Plume, right? The unknown rules are not to reveal the target of the compulsory recruitment. Lu Yin, please confirm. Do you refuse to participate? Lu Yin had a headache. He thought about it and said, okay, I refuse. The frequency of being forcibly recruited should not be so high. He did not know when the next war would be. Perhaps by then, he would have broken through to the Eternal Realm and would have more power to protect himself. Thinking back to the battle against the Mud Kingdom, Nibiluo's power still made him fearful. Since that was the case, he would refuse first. You can refuse, but you must worship the divine tree. Please worship the divine tree as soon as possible to confirm your color. What? Why do I have to worship the divine tree if I refuse to participate? What you refuse to participate in is not a person, but a color. You have to confirm the color that you represent. Lu Yin, you have to worship the divine tree and confirm that it is your color before you can refuse to participate. Why didn't you say so earlier? Is there anything that can't be done? 8 Color asked back. Lu Yin was speechless. This was normal for the unknown, but he really did not want to go to Trace. It was too dangerous. After worshipping the divine tree, he had to return the divine power lines. He had 3 lines and did not want to return any of them. He thought about it and said, "Okay, then I will participate." 8 Color said, "Please confirm. Do you want to participate?" "Yes." "Let's go immediately." So soon. Lu Yin's consciousness left Trace and teleported to Master Grass. There was a door in front of him. Lu Yin took out Mount Supreme and Master Grass went in. He knew that he could not refuse. Lu Yin was about to step through the door, but after thinking about it, he took out the hanging coffin and lay in it before entering the door. The unknown was in such a hurry to participate. It was obvious that they did not have the initiative. Who knew what was going on the other side of the door? After passing through the door, he saw a familiar tree, the immortal plume tree. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed. The target of the forced participation was the immortal plume. No wonder they were in such a hurry. What was the reason? Was it because of his own door? In the distance, doors opened one after another, and all sorts of civilizations appeared from the other side. Just like the Muddy Water Kingdom War, some civilizations ran away as soon as they appeared, some civilizations wanted to fight, and some civilizations could not even run away. Especially this time, when facing the immortal plume civilization, doors kept appearing and breaking. Just as Lu Yin passed through the door, a huge bird appeared above his head. It was not an immortal plume, but it had a teleportation method that was close to teleportation. The bird's target was not Lu Yin, but the door. Lu Yin did not want it to destroy the door, open the hanging coffin, and use Heaven's Eye. Purple Eye power instantly suppressed the void, and the bird's claws were only an inch away from the door. It could be said that it had already touched it, but it was this inch that made it unable to move. It screeched, and flames burned on the surface of its body, burning the void and turning into hot feathers that stretched out continuously. It actually wanted to burn the Purple Eye power. At the same time, vitality and immortal matter were released crazily, and the entire surrounding stars turned red. Lu Yin's eyes were cold. Chapter 43-74. The bird's eyes were filled with disdain. Did a mere scoundrel really think he could fight against it? It opened its mouth and spat out almost pure black flames. There was also a ball in the flames. The ball posed a slight threat to Lu Yin, but it was only a slight threat. Lu Yin shook his arm, and his power bombarded the void, preventing the black flames from approaching him. His entire body withered, and he directly grabbed the black ball. He caught it. When he touched it, he felt as if he was about to melt. His arm quickly recovered. Lu Yin raised his eyebrows. What a strong destructive power. It could heal his withered body, which was equivalent to hurting him. This bird was definitely not ordinary since it could live in the immortal plume civilization. However, Lu Yin's eyes suddenly widened. In his palm, the black ball shattered with a soft bang. The shattered black ball gathered the extremely high temperature of the black flames. Lu Yin pushed it horizontally towards the bird. The bird was shocked. What monster? It remembered that this creature appeared in the unknown hanging coffin. And it looked like this. Human. The bird immediately retreated. Its speed was comparable to teleportation, causing time to stop. But in front of it, Lu Yin appeared and slammed down with his palm. The extremely high temperature of the black flames bombarded the bird's body. The bird let out a shrill cry, "Human, you are a human." Lu Yin snorted. This bird was nothing special. It was extremely fast and had black flames. As long as these 2 points were dealt with, it would be too easy to deal with it. But looking at the distance, how many people could truly suppress this bird? Even an eternal life that conformed to the laws of the universe would find it difficult to do so. Lu Yin used the extremely high temperature of the black flames to melt part of the bird's body. He grabbed the bird's neck with one hand and hit the bird's head with his knee. The bird was hit hard, and its head was crushed. Then, Lu Yin's arm fell, shattering half of the bird's body. The bird let out a final wail and completely fainted. Lu Yin threw it into Mount Supreme. This guy couldn't resist. In this way, he had the time to look at the battlefield. And inside Mount Supreme, Master Grass looked at the miserable bird in shock. How long had it been? To be able to severely injure an eternal life, how strong was Lu Yin now? On the battlefield, there were many more eternal life than in the war with the Mudwater Kingdom. On the Immortal Plume's side, in addition to the Immortal Plume's eternal life realm Immortal Plume, there were also eternal life birds. The one he had just killed was one of them. As for the unknown side, or rather, not any side, just the side that the unknown had used the door to attract had several eternal life forms. It was clear that they didn't want to participate in the battle at all, but as soon as they appeared, the door was shattered by the Immortal Plume. He didn't know if he should say that Xian Ling was arrogant or something else. She had forcibly left behind a few more Eternal Realm enemies. It didn't take long for Lu Yin to disappear. He had been targeted. His battle with Fei Niao had been quick and ruthless. It could be said that it was the fastest battle Lu Yin had finished since he had become a rogue and fought against an Eternal Realm expert. This battle had also attracted Xian Ling's attention. An Immortal Plume appeared in front of Lu Yin's eyes, and it raised its sharp claws to swipe at Lu Yin. Its terrifying aura locked down the void, and it was not something that the bird from before could compare to. Lu Yin hurriedly retreated. This immortal feather was definitely an existence that conformed to 2 laws, and it gave him a very strong sense of oppression. He didn't want to fight head-on. "Human, you can teleport. How did you get it?" Xian Ling shouted and disappeared in an instant. Lu Yin hurriedly disappeared as well. He kept appearing and disappearing as he chased after Xian Ling in the starry sky. This battlefield was huge, and it didn't just revolve around that tree. At least, Lu Yin didn't see any other unknowns. After all, he was facing an immortal feather that could teleport. Distance had lost its meaning. Lu Yin kept teleporting, and every time he teleported, he would travel at the speed of an Eternal Realm expert that had taken 20 years. He didn't dare to completely expose the maximum distance that he could teleport. This immortal feather was chasing after him relentlessly, using all sorts of methods to suppress Lu Yin. However, since they were both teleporting, it was very difficult for others to break through the immortal feather's defenses. It was also very difficult for the immortal feather itself to break through Lu Yin's defenses. "Human, why do you know how to teleport? Which stronghold are you from?" Xian Ling shouted. Lu Yin shouted coldly, "What's your name again?" "Mingyu." "It seems like you understand our human civilization very well. Answer me, or die. You're still allowing me to live on this battlefield?" Lu Yin sneered. He stopped and turned around. He held Go Lian in his hand, and its vitality surged. His eye power suppressed all life as he slashed. Facing him head-on, Mingyu's purple eye power was oppressive. As it watched Go Lien fall and enter its body, its gaze became extremely sharp. It raised its claws to block the attack. Bang! There was a loud bang, and the void was split horizontally. It was like the surface of a boiling water that extended endlessly into the distance. It even extended to the surroundings of the large tree and devoured all life. Regardless of whether it was the birds on Xian Ling's side or the civilized creatures that had been lured in by the door, once they were touched by this aftershock, they would not be able to escape unless they were at the eternal realm. Lu Yin gripped Go Lien tightly and pressed it down. His gaze met Mingyu's, and he had not expected that this attack would not even be able to break through Mingyu's claws. Mingyu's body slowly fell. It had not expected that an existence like itself, which was compatible with two laws, would actually be pressed down by a scoundrel. This was unforgivable, especially since this was a human. A mere human that should be mocked and toyed with had actually suppressed Mingyu. This was unforgivable. Mingyu hissed, and a rumbling sound that could be seen with the naked eye spread outwards. Lu Yin retreated step by step, and the pressure made it difficult for him to breathe. This feeling. The feather god spear. A feather shot towards Lu Yin. Lu Yin's eyes narrowed, and he teleported away. The feather god's spear pierced through the heavens, leaving behind a ripple as it shot into the distance. It looked very ordinary. Mingyu's eyes darkened, and it understood the feather god's spear. This human knew how to teleport, and he also had some understanding of the Xian feather. He must have inherited it from Jiu Lei, and it had to be killed. In the distance, Lu Yin exhaled. That attack had severely injured Master Bitter Lamp, Master Grass, and Heaven carrying immortality. It was the Xian feather's killer move, and it had the ability to fuse and transfer. It seemed that no external force could stop it, but it looked very ordinary. If one did not pay attention, they would definitely be at a disadvantage. This was especially true for Mingyu, who was even stronger than Yu Lu. Fortunately, he had learned about it beforehand. However, it was still not enough. He still did not understand the Xian feather enough. As he thought about this, he continued to teleport while contacting 8 colors. 8 colors, tell me everything you know about the Xian feather. Of course, this is war. The forced war had come too quickly, and 8 colors had no time to tell Lu Yin about the Xian feather at the first opportunity. However, Lu Yin had been attacked the moment he entered the battlefield, so it was only now that he could ask about it. Lu Yin teleported and avoided the battlefield, searching for other unknown locations as he listened to 8 colors' reports. This war was much more intense and dangerous than the one with Mudwater Country. Before the war with Mudwater Country, he could leisurely read the information on Mudwater Country in Jizong, but now he could not. In front of him, the void was pierced, and there was a ripple. Lu Yin turned and saw Mingyu in the distance. This strange bird was staring at him. He kept teleporting and did not get close to the tree. This was not the only battlefield. The Immortal Master had said that there were 10 Xian feather. He did not know how many Xian feather were here, but there must be some extremely powerful ones. He did not want to encounter them. The only sense of security came from the fact that the unknowns had sent out their own experts. Teleport continuously. 8 colors did not lose track of the small portal at all. After listening for a long time, Lu Yin was dissatisfied. Is this all you can tell me? You don't have any information about this Mingyu that I encountered. 8 colors replied, the unknowns had a war with the Xian feather, but the full-scale war was a long time ago. There were occasional battles here, but they did not expand. Not every Xian feather can survive until now. Since the full-scale war with the Xian feather, it is estimated that almost half of the Xian feather have been replaced. Lu Yin was shocked. The Xian feather can teleport, but it can still be exchanged for so many. Who killed it? The dangers of the square-inch space are greater than you think, especially teleportation. There are pros and cons compared to the Xian feather's teleportation. Lu Yin, your teleportation is safer, 8 Colors said. With that, the portal disappeared. Lu Yin's eyes flashed. There were no absolutes in the world. Absolute good would also bring about absolute bad. The Xian feather relied on teleportation to travel freely through the square-inch space, which meant that it had personally experienced the most dangerous aspect of the square-inch space. This aspect, perhaps even the unknowns might not be able to fully understand. It was like a traveler who explored every corner of the desert and died quickly, but another traveler was fixed at a certain spot and could live to the end of his life. No matter how powerful the former traveler was, there would be a time when he was unstoppable. The information about the Xian feather introduced by 8 Colors made Lu Yin fearful. The Xian feather civilization's absolute technique was teleportation. With the inherited talent of 1,000 feathers, 1,000 transformations, coupled with teleportation, it could be said that they could escape almost 99% of the dangers. Most importantly, they had the power of inheritance, the eternal dream. The eternal dream could accelerate time to wear away the karmic restraints. This time was not a tributary of the river of time, but the master of the river of time. Coupled with this was the Xian feather's inheritance that was compatible with the laws of the universe, the unification of 10,000 paths. The unification of 10,000 paths could allow the Xian feather to devour the laws of other immortal realms to strengthen its own laws. Generally speaking, the immortal realms were compatible with the laws of the universe. If they wanted to strengthen themselves, they could only cultivate and comprehend by themselves. This was not a realm, but it was more difficult than a realm. However, the Xian feather was different. They only needed to continuously hunt down the immortal realms and then devour the laws of the universe. Although this would increase the karmic restraints, coupled with the eternal dream, this drawback was perfectly solved. No matter how one looked at it, the combination of the eternal dream and the unification of 10,000 paths was an absolute technique. This meant that the Xian feather civilization had 2 absolute techniques. One was to escape, and the other was to continuously strengthen themselves. It was simply terrifying. Previously, Lu Yin's understanding of the Xian feather was only limited to teleportation. Now, when he looked at the big tree again, his eyes were filled with deep fear and killing intent. If they were not stopped, the Xian feather civilization would dominate the square-inch space sooner or later. Of course, this was only in theory. The unknowns would not let the Xian feather civilization succeed. However, if they wanted to stop it, they would have to start a war. Now, they were starting a war. Lu Yin did not expect that there would be creatures in the square-inch space that could devour immortal life and conform to the laws of the universe. If the Muddy Kingdom was a hooligan in the square-inch space, then the Xian feather was a villain. Chapter 43-75. The scenes that he had seen and heard before appeared in his mind. Xianling was the mortal enemy that the human civilization had to eliminate, just like the unknown. In front of him, the feather tore through the void, and Lu Yin dodged it. This was the feather god's spear, and it was Xian Yu's killing move. It originated from the universal laws of the myriad Taos returned to one, and it could break through all obstacles. It could fuse the power of the enemy and transfer that power at the same time, and its strength corresponded to the myriad Taos returned to one. Therefore, Reverend Ku Deng and the others couldn't withstand this attack at all. As far as the eye could see, this immortal plume could definitely be considered a mystical species. However, there were differences between each immortal plume and immortal plume. Every immortal plume had its own unique way of fighting. 8 Colors had told him a few of the immortal plume's unique universe rules and methods, but there was no mention of Mingyu. Unknowable did not understand Mingyu. He could only deal with it by himself. In this war, Liu Yin's goal was to kill Xian Ling as much as possible. Feather God Spear. Liu Yin dodged, but this time, he did not teleport away. Instead, he stood where he was and looked into the distance. Ming Yu's gaze was sharp as she teleported closer. The sharp claws descended upon Liu Yin. The god's sealing catalog appeared. Golden light shone, and the triple firmament sword will appeared. The Sword Dao River. The sharp claws easily tore apart the Sword Dao River. His sharpness did not decrease in the slightest. Liu Yin's eyelids twitched. Ming Yu's claw attack gave him the same feeling as clay blade slash. It was a terrifying killing force that could easily tear apart the river of Sword Dao. Ming Yu's strength was not below clay blades, and it might even surpass him. The seemingly disorderly sharp claws actually contained battle techniques, giving off a feeling of returning to simplicity. It was as if he had been dragged into a slaughterhouse of wild beasts. Liu Yin continued to retreat as he raised his hand and slashed with his path sword. Peng Mingyu's sharp claws paused, and his vision blurred for a moment. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Liu Yin moved closer and unleashed his absorption technique. He punched Mingyu viciously. Mingyu was sent flying by a single punch. Liu Yin held Go Lian in his hand and attacked from above. Slash! Bang! The claw blocked the attack, and Mingyu stared at Liu Yin in astonishment. You've also comprehended karma. A little, Liu Yin barked. The karmic heavenly Tao was formed. Thousand Faces Karma, heavenly finger wheel. Mingyu flapped her wings. Feather God Spear. Liu Yin's eyes narrowed, and he immediately retracted his hand. He could not meet the Feather God Spear head-on. In terms of absolute killing power, he was much weaker than Mingyu. As the Feather God's spear brushed past his ear, Liu Yin turned around and unleashed his path sword. Bright rain teleported away. It was fearful of karma. It flapped its wings and flapped them. The starry sky shrank as if a formless hand was compressing it. Liu Yin immediately teleported away. Mingyu was filled with hatred. He felt the helplessness of fighting against teleportation. In the past, they were the ones who made others feel helpless. No matter how others attacked, they just needed to run when the situation was bad. But now, someone was actually using this trick to disgust them, forcing them to stop their attacks. Chase, this human must die. Teleportation only existed in the immortal Plume civilization. Far off in the distance, Liu Yin saw another battlefield. He saw an immortal feather fluttering about, attacking a pure black space. There were also circles of black halos surrounding it. If he wasn't mistaken, that was an unknown color, black. Liu Yin still wanted to take a closer look, but Mingyu had already caught up to him. She waved her claws at him, tearing through the void as her claws extended endlessly. Liu Yin teleported away again. Mingyu was furious and gave chase. In the distance, the immortal feather attacking the black space was shocked. Teleportation. It stared in a certain direction, raised its wings, and covered them. The wings transformed into a phantom that covered the sky in the blink of an eye. Liu Yin looked up. What the hell? He thought that Mingyu had attacked, but the next moment, a wisp of darkness engulfed him, and the phantom wings disappeared. When he looked again, only Mingyu was chasing after him. Liu Yin saw the unease in Mingyu's eyes. Another immortal feather had attacked just now, and it gave him a feeling of fear. It shouldn't be any weaker than Red Hero's strength. He gritted his teeth. The immortal feather civilization and the unknown could wage an all-out war, and there were also unimaginable powerhouses. He distanced himself from that tree and continued to move away. Liu Yin brought Mingyu along as he teleported away. Behind them, Feather God spears pierced through the void, tearing apart the starry sky and the universe in front of them. The mother tree was pierced by the feather god's spears and collapsed. Lu Yin turned around. He couldn't escape Ming Yu's line of sight. If it had been Yu Lu, he would have dealt with her long ago. As for Ming Yu, even if Crow immobilization gave him a chance to attack, it would be useless. He couldn't kill Ming Yu since he couldn't see the end. At that moment, the majestic river of time appeared above his head. Lu Yin looked up in shock. Master of the river of time. The old man was also on this battlefield. No matter how many times he saw it, he would still be shocked by the vastness of the river of time. He had always wanted to know if the old man had really drawn down the entire river of time. Or was it just a part of it? Lu Yin wasn't the only one who was shocked. Ming Yu also looked up at the sky with a nervous expression. All of them were monsters. Lu Yin, go to the crown of the immortal feather origin tree and set up a sourcebox array to block Tell Heaven's senses, the old man said. Lu Yin's expression changed. What? Tell Heaven was a terrifying existence. According to 8 Colors information on the Immortal Feather Civilization, this was an old monster that stood at the peak of the Immortal Feather Civilization. He was also one of the powerhouses that had once surrounded and attacked Ninth Base. Why would Lu Yin face such an old monster? Don't be afraid. Tell Heaven hasn't awakened yet, and this battle cannot be stopped. Otherwise, things will get out of hand. Go. A square box appeared in front of Lu Yin. Find Tell Heaven's egg. Open the box, and it will release a shielding sourcebox array. Lu Yin ran away without hesitation and teleported away. He didn't even take the box. What a joke. Tell Lu Yin wanted him to block Tell Heaven. Did he want to die? Even if he couldn't do it, he wouldn't do it. What if this sourcebox array trapped him and Tell Heaven together? He wouldn't be able to complain if he was eaten. The old man wasn't surprised that Lu Yin would run away. Ming Yu suddenly appeared in the same spot and grabbed at the box. Kid, this isn't something you can take. The box then disappeared, leaving behind a gray ball that slowly dispersed. Ming Yu looked up, and the feather god's spear stabbed towards the river of time. Ming Yu, kill that human. A voice descended from another immortal feather ancestor. This deep voice was not only heard by Ming Yu, but also by Lu Yin, who was far away. He turned around and saw another old man. Just from the voice alone, it was obvious that he wasn't someone to be trifled with. The battle in outer space was becoming more and more intense, and more portals were being opened. Lu Yin did not know how many civilizations could be used, but after this battle, the core space would destroy at least a dozen civilizations. These civilizations had probably been accumulated over countless years. From Lu Yin's perspective, the core space was divided into the weakest civilizations. These civilizations were not unified within the universe, and the Tian Yuan universe had been like this as well. They had no understanding of the core space. Next were the unified universes, which had some understanding of the core space, but did not have an eternal realm expert or an eternal realm expert who only sought self-preservation, similar to the Tian Yuan universe. Next were the Nine Heavens universe, which would destroy any civilization they encountered. They did not want any foreign civilizations to discover that there was more than one eternal realm expert, and they feared the core space. Next were the quasi-fishing civilizations, which were similar to the 7 treasures heavenly toad. They did not fear fishing civilizations, but they had not reached the level of a fishing civilization. Next were the fishing civilizations, which Lu Yin had come into contact with more of. It couldn't be helped, as weak civilizations were either destroyed or ignored. Numbers were meaningless, and only civilizations at this level could be remembered. Then came the unknowable. Civilizations that made use of civilizations could be destroyed, used, and done as they pleased. The Immortal Plume civilization was the same. They hunted eternal realm experts and did not care about civilizations. They could destroy or ignore them. Regardless of why fishing civilizations wanted to destroy civilizations, it was too simple for a civilization at the unknowable level to do so. All they had to do was discover and then wait for an opportunity to exploit it. It was that simple. If there were any stronger civilizations, Luin thought of the ninth base, as well as the springboard civilization that he had known about the earliest but had been completely clueless about. That was the springboard for all the fishing civilizations, and it had laid out the entire core space. How domineering was that? He suddenly wondered if that springboard civilization had also participated in the siege of the ninth base. It was not impossible, as the ninth base's influence had been too great at its peak. It was impossible for the springboard civilization not to know about it. Luin thought about it as a few birds in front of him rammed into the door, but he casually killed them. They were merely creatures on the level of crossing calamity. Suddenly, a cube box fell down in front of him. Lu Yin's expression changed. When did this happen? In addition to the cube box, there was also a trace of gray flowing, as if it was incompatible with the deep and dark universe. This was the power of time. Little guy, you owe me a life. Lu Yin looked up and did not see the river of time. How did this old guy target him? You can't use my life to repay it. I refuse. Don't worry, I won't take your life, but once the oracle comes out, it's hard to say. You and I might die. Lu Yin frowned. I don't want to face the oracle. No one wants to, but only you can do this. Do you see the immortal plume tree? There's an immortal plume tree guarding it, and we're all stalled and unable to cross it. Only you can teleport in. Put down the origin scroll and leave. No one can stop you. Lu Yin was silent. It's just a small matter to be rewarded based on merit on the battlefield, but if you do it, you can get a 5-star mission reward. Lu Yin raised his eyebrows. 5-star mission reward. He was even more unwilling to do it. If it was that simple, why would the reward be so high? Of course. This is my promise to you. I'll help you complete the 5-star mission, and you can choose the reward. The old guy's tone was relaxed, as if there were no enemies. This is an unknown war. Why are you paying such a high price? Is the price very high? Perhaps, but the unknown is not allowed to lose in any war. This is the bottom line. If the oracle awakens, the unknown will lose. The oracle is not invincible, but the price to block it is too high. You and I might die. Little guy, your human civilization will also be destroyed. You can't forget that the immortal plume tree knows that you can teleport, and it also knows where the 3 universes are. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.